Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tub Takes. This is a weekly VGC podcast where we talk about all the latest and greatest happenings in VGC. I guess weekly no longer being necessarily true because we did skip last week, but and we are a day late on this one. But yeah, it's good to be back here, and we've got a very special episode this week because we have your Toronto regional champion Chuppa Cross. How you doing?
Hey, Adi, I'm doing great. Glad to be back home after an awesome weekend.
Yeah, it is great to have you. Congratulations. I mean, we were also excited when you won. Yeah, it was really cool to see. Yeah, so it's great to have you on here, and I'm excited to hear all about your run because I honestly did not watch a ton of the regional. But yeah, and then we also got Raghav, who is coming off a back-to-back top four performance at back-to-back regionals. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm honestly just super stoked to be here in the presence of Big C. Um, just an honor, really. So, yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on. You were actually on the last episode again, which is 2 weeks ago, which is kind of funny. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
becoming a regular. And then speaking of regulars, we got Abhay, who very friend of the channel, sometimes host of the channel. Abhay, how you doing, Abhay?
I'm doing good. Happy to be on.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So yeah, welcome back to Tub Takes. It's been a while, but we have a couple announcements, and then obviously we're going to start talking about the two regionals that have happened. We didn't get to cover Lille regionals, so we will talk about that, and then of course Toronto regionals, where all of our competitors here made day two. So probably going to talk a little bit more about Toronto. But yeah, first and foremost, I guess there are going to be more seats for San Antonio. It did fill up at the cap of 500. That is going to be on Thursday, which is also probably when this video is going to go up on YouTube, which I forgot to mention, !YT in the chat if you can't catch the entire thing. But yeah, it'll be live on YouTube on Thursday, and the seats will be live for San Antonio Regionals on Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So there's going to be 64 more seats, I think. And I heard that all of you guys are coming to San Antonio, right?
Yes, I will be there. Texas, watch out.
We'll see. I like the format, but I don't really need the CP anymore, so it's a maybe.
Yeah.
I just want to see my actually miss it.
Uh,
I'm just I'm just there for the basketball game, and
Yeah.
I want to win a regional again. So, plus, the pricing this year is so nice. So,
mhm. You
I
are
don't mind going.
you have made a heck of a profit. Both of you guys have made a heck of a profit this year going to a couple events. Uh,
Riley's the real
Yeah.
moneymaker right now.
If it weren't for the new prizing system, I definitely I don't think I'd be considering San Antonio if I had the world's invite, but not the increased prizing. It's just it's kind of funny that they go hand in hand with each other to motivate people who win a regional. I don't know, everybody who's won a regional is likely to keep showing up to them, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
yeah, and that was one of the criticisms I had of giving the auto invites to the people who win regionals because it would suck to see late season regionals where no one big shows up because they kind of already locked it up and the incentive to play for day two or not day two anymore. The buy is not very high. And so yeah, no, it has been really cool to see. I think basically everyone who won a regional. We haven't seen Michael again, but he's going to be going to more events too, and so it's cool that you're going to more events. And it's cool that they've created that incentive, and yeah, and that you guys can actually Pokemon funds itself now, which I think is something that is really nice to have. But yeah, San Antonio. Thank you, Zyther, for the sub. Appreciate it. Can't wait for San Antonio as well. But yeah, we got San Antonio regionals, and then I forget if there were any other announcements that we had. I don't know if there are any other signups coming up. So we can go ahead and jump right into the regional recaps because we do have two of them this week. So we've got Lille regionals, which was the regional in France. And this was not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. 531 players. So a relatively average size regional, I guess, nowadays. But it was won by Sanvi using a team that I guess hopefully you are familiar with at this point. But I guess Chuppa, do you want to talk about this team?
Oh, for those of you who don't know, Sanvi is Cheppa's twin brother who lives in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta pull up
Yeah, he's
the
why
Aaron
we
trailer
skipped
tweet.
right from 2 to 4. Yeah. I'm sure like everybody watching this is probably familiar with the bit, but this tweet is good enough that we should be showing it off anyway.
That tweet was so fire.
Oh, I have to share a fun fact about this tweet while we're on it. So I had just qualified for Top Cut, record of 12-2, and I see this tweet and I'm thinking like, something looks a little off about those move sets. And for some reason, I was convinced that my Urshifu had the wrong protecting move because I'd like moved back and forth between Detect and Protect a few times, and I was convinced that I had like the wrong one on my team sheet, and somehow nobody had seen it. And it took about 5 minutes of being super stressed about this before I realized, like, no, it is in fact okay. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk about the team a little bit. This is really based on a team that I think Hirofumi Kimura was the first person that built it sometime all the way back in Reg D leading up to Worlds. Sanvi used it to make it through day 1 and into day 2 of Worlds. I think Hirofumi or somebody else might have been able to use it to finish top 16 at Worlds. And yeah, it is a Regulation D team that is still, doing great in Regulation E. A lot of the same concepts as before, like, I don't know, just Tornadus with a bunch of like fast and strong Pokemon still works extremely well. In some ways, Arcanine is a better like Intimidate partner for this kind of team than the Landorus that folks like Andrew Ding had used. So yeah, it's just like kind of the next evolution of a really reliable archetype.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I don't ladder as much as some people, but I don't know if this was that common before Lille, but after Lille, it was just everywhere.
No, I don't think before Lille anybody except Sanfi was really still using this team, and even he came to it because like I think other teams just weren't clicking for him, and he was like, why don't I go back to like what's worked for me in the past, which makes sense. I'm sure he has like hundreds of games with this archetype by now, and it clearly like worked out really well for him.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll talk more about this team when we're talking about your run in Toronto and how you made your decisions. But I guess moving on through Top Cut, this is Aurelian, who is using another regulation D team. Obviously, you have some buffs, but like I don't know. This is another team where I feel like it's been around for a while. Is this a Japanese team as well?
Yeah, Rinya was the first person who
Right.
built this. I think it was something that was used for kind of like very late Regulation D laddering or early Regulation E laddering.
It does just look like Michael, their bestest team with a Dragonite, though. Like, that's how I always pictured it.
I forgot.
Did Michael have the Helping Hand Giraffe?
I don't know.
I don't
But
think
the
so. I
helping
think the
hand,
Helping Hand Giraffe.
it's very important.
It's so saucy.
Yeah. Like, I think just the giraffe or Shifu lead is just so silly because you can't fake it out, helping hand or the threat of Trick Room, like U-turn Trick Room. I think this team is like one of the strongest in the format by far.
Yeah, and I think it was the most common team at the regional at Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We actually I can pull that up because we have, I think it's the Lab Mouse. They told us to feature them. They showed us their stuff, and this was super cool. If you look at this, not only do you have every single Pokemon, and I believe all the usage stats all the way down to like one use, but you also have team composition down here, and
Wow.
the team composition you can see the most common 6-mod teams, and so you can see a full 4% of the field, which Toronto is like a 600 player event, right? So that's like 20 some players, 30 players who use this team.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Which is a lot. Yeah, it was like and the first stream match was actually a mirror match of this team. And so this team was everywhere at Toronto Regionals. So, and again, I feel like this one I actually did see around a little bit more before Lille, but it had multiple placements at Lille as well.
What was the first stream match from Toronto that you're referring to?
This was I want to say Olivia versus Henry was the round 1 stream match or round 3 stream match. Um,
Mhm.
and I think the victory road actually lists all of them.
I know I remember seeing Olivia having used the team.
I don't know either of these people.
Where'd it go? Here it is.
Olivia.
Olivia is a Canadian player.
That's Box of Timbits, right?
Yeah, it's Timbits, I thought. I don't know who Edgar Mendez is.
2 Canadians. Okay.
But
Yo, Ryan Lesotho's got a good team. Just saying.
yeah, I mean, your team was, I think, up there too, as one of the more. I guess I don't see it here, but I think we saw it a couple times on stream because I think someone else used it too. Where'd it go?
People just like the backs and the Ninetales a lot.
Yeah, Ollie used it as well, and Mayday too with it. So that team was. I mean, I think I've seen this team everywhere from even before you were using it. These 6 were really common, although I think most people are using your variant of it when I saw it. And
Yeah,
I even
no,
played
Ollie
someone.
used those same 6 at Sacramento, and I think like made it up to his win-in round or something. I don't really know exactly where it came from, but it just like feels like I don't know. Naturally, just it's the snow guys and then a bunch of other good Pokemon that work with them.
Yeah, I don't claim ownership of the 6 Pokemon, but I definitely played some people who like used my version or things similar to it.
yeah, I think
This is the first time I'm finding out that Brendan used Goodra, which I'm disappointed to see. It's a dirty Pokemon.
It's not good.
his match with you is a little one-sided. Um,
Yeah, I mean he didn't have a Goldie matchup, but I just think Gudra's bad into Amoonguss. Like that's its biggest problem is it just can't beat Amoonguss.
I mean, the Goldie matchup is a huge problem too. Like, Adi,
Yeah.
I was just watching that video on your YouTube channel where you like had Goldie against Como, and it's the same thing. They're just like it falls in this broad category of Pokemon that if Golden Go looks at them the wrong way, they just lose the game.
yeah, I mean, it's just inherently so good against all the body press mons, and all the body press mons have to have a way to hit Fluttermane, right? And so, yeah, Goldie just kind of walls all of them. It's nice to have. I like Goldie partially because it's just like, oh yeah, all these like mons that you kind of check whether you have a matchup or not. With the exception of Mendoza, Goldie does really well too. But yeah, Gudra, I don't know. This seems strange. She got double ice as well. But he did. I think Brendan did pretty well with it, right? He made day 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think he went like 9-5, or
Well, Brandon's a
maybe
really
even
good
better
player.
than that.
yeah. But okay, let's go back to Lille. Let's try to talk about. Let's try to
Okay.
respect the Europeans, and then we can go and talk a little bit more about Toronto. But I don't know, like which teams we talked about a little bit of the top 2 teams, which are obviously very common at Toronto regionals as well. Pretty much 2 of the more common teams in the metagame after the last week or so. Are there any of these other teams that really stand out to you that you want to talk about?
I
Um,
think Tarn's team is really cool. Like I was really expecting more people to pick up on this kind of concept for Toronto, just because it's like it's kind of similar to like kind of the week 1 regu teams. A lot of people were building the just like sunny day, and then surprised this
in the
wasn't like
format
top
that
4
makes me
one.
want to
It
die.
just seems good.
So I think Sunny Day, especially with the herb, is super cool. You can't be taunted. It's something I'm looking into right now, and I think this concept, like, I was also surprised it didn't take off a little bit more, and we haven't seen more variety with it. I think the Ogre Pond water here is interesting, just because you are setting the sun, and there's not like any setup mons.
Yeah. I think it looks like the stream lagged a little bit, so I'm not sure if everyone caught everything that you said.
Oh, my bad.
It's decidedly not your bad, but yeah. I missed a little bit, which I think was on my internet. But I'm going to assume that you covered everything on this team. And, or actually, that's not even fair because I don't think anyone heard you or how much they hurt. So if y'all want to give
Okay,
cliff notes,
I
for
can
instance,
repeat what I
do that
said.
again. Go
I
ahead.
was just basically saying that like the sunny day concept is really strong because Urshifu makes me want to die, and it makes Urshifu slightly less problematic. And that I was very surprised the kind of core hasn't taken off more. The mental herb's really smart, so you don't get taunted. And I just kind of pointed out that the Ogre Pond water here is interesting because you're setting up the sun, and it's also follow me mon with no setup mons here. So it's kind of just like interesting on this team. What function does it really play? Is like kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think that Rajan was saying Tyrone at least started thinking about this team based on his Pittsburgh team, which also had a lot of the same Pokemon, I think, but obviously no Ogerpon. So
Hmm.
the Ogerpon, I don't know. I guess like if you don't want to run with the setup Ogerpon, then I feel like Follow Me is just the best fourth utility move, anyways. Even if you don't have anything that really needs it. Also,
Yeah, follow me is great.
he does have Swords Dance Urshifu, which is something that can set up.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
Hmm.
Sword Dance is cool.
Yeah, and someone said Chuppa's part also was cut out slightly. Chuppa, if you want, how do you think you want to recap?
Oh yeah, about this team, right? I think I was just kind of talking about how I expected this to see more use. Couldn't say exactly why it didn't, and just how it's like kind of similar to a lot of the teams that people were building at the very start of Regulation E, like kind of just inspired by like literally the top six bonds in usage and having stuff like Overpon, Fire, Go Burr with like Sunny Day with its embody aspect, etc.
Yeah,
And Life Orb Heatran.
hmm yeah. I I don't have much to add. I think the team is cool. I think Life Orb Heatran specifically is a very strong set, and especially when you add this on, it just does so much damage. And I think Ogerpon's really good. I love Water Ogerpon, so I'm a fan of this team. I could definitely see myself using it. Although I'm not a huge fan of the Urshifu. I feel like it's so hard to use this set when I think King Gibbet just kind of does it better.
I think CC is also just a really good move.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you need it.
but obviously Tyrant did very well with this. He got all the way to top four with this team. Um, and then I guess we should talk about the other team in top four, which is Sekium's team, because Sekium brought Gothitelle, and there were a couple Gothitelle in this day two. I know Billa got top 16 with Gothitelle as well, and both of them I think were really trying to abuse the Gothitelle Urshifu core that we thought would be world breakers last generation when Dynamax was gone, just because you can fake out with and you can break through protect, and so there's no real way to avoid it, and you can't switch out into resist, so you're always just targeting down the slot that's weak to it, and potentially faking out the slot that isn't weak to it. And
And
so
no Flutter.
yeah, and obviously like Flutter Mane does get to switch out, and so but you do get to threaten it with Surging Strikes too. So like I don't know, it's interesting that we haven't seen a ton of Goth Urshifu, but this is an interesting concept that has been explored a little more in Europe, and I didn't see it anywhere the next week in Toronto, but maybe it'll pick up a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something that deserves more exploring. Like Goth is just one of those Pokemon that always feels like, at least to me, it always feels like it's kind of like it has a chance to be broken. It just like it's oftentimes going to take like kind of a lot of work or maybe a specific place in the metagame for it to get there. And after this regional, I was like, okay, maybe it's the Goth moment, and then kind of ended up seeing why, like, no, maybe it's not Goth's moment. Maybe like Giraffe is going to be stronger on teams similar to this one, like the Ringia slash Aurelian team that's seen such good use. But it's definitely like really interesting, and I have a feeling this isn't the very last that we're going to see of Gothitelle in Regulation A.
That makes total sense. I also think that the Goth Ogrepon mode is pretty threatening as well if you can get a free SD and then either switch in your Rillaboom or Chien-Pao to boost the damage of like Grassy Glide or just physical moves in general. It take out Shadow Tag is just a really good tool.
Yeah, it's really just like the existence of Flutter Mane that has made Gothitelle a little harder to use. this generation. But especially with tools like Miracle Seed, Rillaboom, and tools like Ogerpon that could do so well into Flutter Mane. And Scarf Urshifu, it really does seem pretty reasonable to bring Goth back.
Yeah, and it's a good intimidate deterrent, and yeah, I mean it just limits their options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another cool thing about this team is the Dragonite set is like Riley's Dragonite set. I don't know if he came up with it, but that AV Dragonite's really cool just because switching your moves is so useful in like punishing Terras. Like you can Thunder Punch something after Terra Waters. Aerial Ace is a pretty strong stab move. I'm always kind of impressed by the damage it does given its low base power. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this Dragonite set. It's just good typing in the meta outside of like Fluttermane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just the Dragon defensive typing, the Flying defense typing are both so good right now. Resisting all the Ogerpon moves, all the Rillaboom moves, just all the Urshifu water moves. Yeah, like Aerial Ace is a little underwhelming damage, but you still are two-shotting everything that you're hitting, more or less. So I think it's a cool set. I'm surprised I haven't seen it more, but I guess this is a variant of Riley's team. I think like it looks like Riley's team with the non-Goth Talmons. What did Riley have? That
So he had King Gambit and Amoonguss over Rilla and Goth,
Yes.
and the Ogerpon was Follow Me.
Okay, sure.
King Gambit and Moongus just feels like such a different team from this, honestly.
It is. It
But
functions
kinda get what
completely
you
different.
mean.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's really funny how, like, we see Ogerpon at the start of this format. Ogerpon's really good, and everybody's like, whoa, what should I be using Terra Dragon on? What dragon type should I be using? And I think it's so funny that the search for that dragon type kind of just led back to what was always the best dragon type in, like, current generation formats. It's just Dragonite. It's just Dragonite.
We can't count out Dragapult though. He's gonna come back.
As soon as, again, Fluttermane's the problem. It's just like, God, the speed booster Fluttermanes, the bundles are so frustrating for Dragapult. But other than that, I mean,
Hey man, I got smacked in NAIC. It got second at Worlds. All those things were still there.
That's true. I mean, I think that the Dragapult is so good when people get disrespectful of it because it's so easy for your Scarf Mons or for your like slow Tailwind Mons to just outspeed Bundle or Fluttermane, and not worry about outspeeding Dragapult. And so people do start getting very, very conservative on their speed EV points. That could be a real punish too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't forget, like, at Adamant Scarf Landorus, like, a lot of people were kind of just running that at max speed anyway. But on top of that, like, Urshifu and Landorus have this stupid war against each other that kind of results in a lot of these Scarf Urshifu going Jolly because they want to outspeed Jolly Scarf Landorus. And Dragapult really just gets the short end of the stick there, where suddenly instead of beating some of the Scarfers, it's going to be beating, like, none of them because they're already, like, in a stupid war against each other.
This Jolly Scarf Urshifu is so bad, I'm gonna beat them anyway for making such a silly decision.
Also, Urshifu specifically, you don't really care about because you just kind of wall it anyways. But yeah, Landorus is a little more significant. Just it does too much damage to you, and you don't get to Phantom Force around it nearly as well. But yeah, what was the Roaring Moon's the other dragon type that's just been very, very common. So that's the other one that everyone kind of knew was going to be good. But man, like especially
No.
as with no, you don't like it?
No, I'm saying knockoff is huge for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or mid.
No, with knockoff, it's so good with Fluttermane's reduction in usage. It's just got better. Like all the grass types, all the fire types. It's got excellent defensive coverage into a lot of teams, and so that's another mod that I think we saw a top 8. Yeah, Marco Fiora got top 8 with it here, and then I think he did pretty well at Toronto as well.
Yeah, there is a couple in cut.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul just used Marco's team as well, so that's another team that we can look at here. The team that Maurice is using as well was really popular in the US, and I did play against it one of late in day 2, and so I guess it's something to look at for sure. I think it just kind of hinges on the strength of a lot of the standard Pokemon as well as bundle, which wasn't used as much, but it's really good into a lot of the format if you can, call their Terra right or, get in the right spot. Like, freeze dry and hydro pump coverage is just amazing.
I don't understand why people started using Shuckaberry on Heatran all of a sudden. Like, in my game against Paul, it made his Heatran, like, considerably less threatening than it should have been. I don't know. I
'Cause you don't have a
just
ground
tend to
move.
treat it. Yeah, I don't know. I just tend to treat Heatran as, like, a Terra Hog, and I accept that, and I get to run Life Orb, and suddenly my Heat Wave is 2 at KOing everything.
I mean,
Maybe I'm missing something about Shucka.
I'm totally with you, but I think on certain teams you can't afford it to be a Terra Hog like that, and just not having to Terra in front of Landorus could be really big.
Yeah, and I guess on a team like this, you got to save like your own Terra for something like your Landorus more often. Like, I guess that's something that it seems like Paul was also trying to take advantage of, just like, Terraflying Landorus to clean up games. So
Or Roaring
I
Moon.
can kind of get it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be more afraid of it if it actually like threatened Landorus back, right? Like if you Shucka Wisp, I kind of get it. But as it stands right now, like the Landorus can just click stomping into it and then click stomping again, right? And you need to, I don't know if like getting that one heat wave off is going to be that significant, especially since you can. If your partner threatens it, you can always just protect anyways.
It's very, very small brain thinking, Audie. That one turn is can be very useful and impactful.
You know what? You know what I did face that I thought was sick and I almost lost to was Shucka and Polion. Because that guy does have a Landorus problem. You really want to live in attack if you get the competitive boost. So you actually want to be sitting in front of Landorus, but you can't really do it. So that's the Pokemon that I think Shuckaberry goes on. Heatran, I don't know. I don't know if you ever want that guy sitting in front of Landorus anyways.
Just combine Heatran
I
and
think
bundle.
you just figured out your San Antonio team, Ade. It's Shucka and Polion.
There is an Apollyon in my builder right now.
And you can go Terra Poison, keep the Shucka,
True.
resist the fighting. The grass was already neutral. Yeah.
We're cooking. But yeah, I guess. I don't know if there's any other thoughts about Maurice's team. He was the 1 seed after Swiss, I think.
Yeah.
Was he? Yeah.
Because he started 9-0 and then he, still went 12-2, so I'm pretty sure he was highest seed.
That and it's what I feel like when I see a team that goes 12-2 and then loses in top 8, like okay, I gotta that feels like a little more notable to me than 11-3s in top 8. And I guess we get at Toronto, which is really funny. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I think that all the 12-2s won and all the 11-3s lost in top 8, which was also funny.
Yeah, and usually that doesn't happen.
It does not happen, which is why it was notable. But I do keep pulling us off topic. But yeah, all the top seeds won. But yeah, here not so much the case. But again, I think Maurice's team especially notable because he was the 1 seed after Swiss and locked up the top cut so early. Moving on to Marco Fierro's team. Like you said, this was also the team that Paul used. Or at least very similar to the team that Paul used. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same.
No Shucka on this one.
Yeah, there's no Shucka on this one. I think this is the team that Jude's been spamming on ladder, is what I've heard. And so, I guess this team has been around, but
Jude was spamming on ladder.
okay, not anymore. He's got a new team. Oh
No, he's just banned.
he got banned. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Still, man, what are you talking about?
Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to add about this team. I feel like it's just kind of been around. But it's just a very solid team. I think one of the very few teams, along with maybe the Weezing teams, that really abused Roaring Moon to the fullest. When that is, one of the craziest fonts in the format, and just not being used.
I think the knockoff buff is huge, even if you're using like an offensive set instead of the support set. The Roaring Moon on this team is kind of treated as like it's like a nuke. Dragon Dance is there just to like threaten on dead turns. It's not like the main strategy in my opinion. It's there to punish a switch or protect, because Terraflying Acrobatics with the booster attack is already just like one of the strongest moves in the format. And this team kind of is like just a more balanced approach on some of the more off versus more of the offensive teams. Like you got the Volt Switch Iron Hands, You got a Sub-Heatran. Amoonguss is still, amazing. And I do think these Landorses tend to be jolly. At least that's what I've been seeing these days. But that's totally just like from player to player, I think. But I've been seeing a lot of jolly Landors.
Yeah, I honestly don't really think I like Roaring Moon very much as a Pokemon, but the rest of this team is sick. It's just like, this definitely seems like something that's great for people like Paul, Marco, Jude that want to play like more balanced teams, and it's just like really good at winning damage trades over time.
Yeah. The no water type is like, it's making me a little annoyed.
What do you mean? The Iron Hands
Like-
is a water type.
But there's no Urshifu or Ogerpon water or bundle.
I kind of get it though. Like I think that I think the reason there's no water type because I was thinking about I thought Roaring Mungus was really strong, which is part of why I really like the team. And part of the reason that I don't think you get to maybe run a water type is that if you're running a Mungus, you are so weak to all the offensive grass types. If you are trying to use a Mungus as a redirector or as a spore bot, and so you want all of the other mons in your team to do well into the common grass types. Fluttermane, I mean, obviously Fluttermane's a Fluttermane, so you don't really need that justification, but like the other four mons just do so well into the common grass types, and that is a big part of why, they're there. And I think that if you run a water type, then all of a sudden, why you have an Amoonguss in your team, you already got the, I guess if you have the Ogerpon water, then you have the redirection. And if you have the Urshifu, then you are just doubling up on like Rillaboom weaknesses, Ogerpon water weaknesses that Amoonguss potentially could pounce.
Yeah, I mean, the moon makes sense here, and it's obviously worked for them. I think flying coverage in this format is just amazing, so it definitely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, Abhay, welcome back. We were just talking about the teams from the Lille regional, and we were at Marco Fierro. Do you have anything that you wanted to mention about the Marco Fierro team?
I don't know if this is already brought up, but the Rocky Helmet versus Citrus on the Moongoose, is that already talked about?
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's honestly, I think a little bit of spoiler that was on Paul's team as well from, what's it called, from Toronto, but that's a pretty notable distinction to me, since typically when you see a Moongus and it doesn't have a Citrus, it's because a different Pokemon on the team occupy that item, and Rocky Helmet's kind of the next best choice. But it was interesting to me at least, just to see, like, they believed in Rocky Helmet being the best choice for this. So that's one of the more notable choices.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
a big fan of Helmet.
You are a big fan of Helmet.
Yeah, it's just like such a threat.
I will say, I saw your set against Brendan, and that game one, if he was Icicle Crash and not Ice Spinner, and didn't have his Focus Sash broken on your helmet, it's a totally different game. And so I think that like people are maybe disrespecting Helmet right now. But yeah, when Helmet, if Helmet is respected, like when Icicle Crash Chen Pao is more common, then it's I think it's a lot worse. But breaking that guy's sash in particular is really good.
I think
it's
honestly,
not even
even
just, like-
just Urshifu is like makes it worth it. Because even on it's really popular on Torn now. Both Chuppa and I ran it, I think. It just makes it so like even if it's in their best interest to do it, you're still getting something out of it. Like it's just such a deterrent for Urshifu. And then obviously fake out mons, like just a little that extra chip's nice.
That's true.
Yeah, especially with Urshifu, like, kind of taking up, like, #1 in usage in Toronto Day 2, which was, like, before this weekend, completely unprecedented for the format. And, like, I already thought Rocky Helmet was a good item prior to this weekend, but now with, like, Urshifu really vying for that top slot, it's just, like, it's an even better item. And I think it's, like, it's the best on Tornadus right now, and very possibly the best on Amoonguss, too.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Citrus is also good for not the same reasons, but for the same mon. Like, makes a lot of Surging Strikes calcs not one shots anymore, or not two shots. So, I could totally understand Citrus on a lot of these Pokemon as well. It just depends on what your team needs.
I feel like there aren't a ton of attacks that do like 70 to Amoonguss or 60 to Amoonguss. That's where Citrus would really shine. I feel like it resists a lot of the very common attacks, or it takes a lot from a lot of the common attacks, and there's very little in between. Fluttermane Shadow Ball is like one of those in between moves that you can really appreciate Citrus for. But
Yeah.
those are definitely a little further between, I think, now in this metagame. But yeah, I guess moving on. What are the other teams? Oh, we got Pearl's team. I actually recorded a team report with Pearl, and so they talked about their Dondozo, and it's pretty similar to the Dozo teams that were around at Sacramento. I think that I think Marcus was using, for example, but they did make some of their own changes. They'll talk about that a lot more in the team report, but I guess we got the Dondozo player in the call. So I guess Chuppa, what do you think about this Dozo team?
I think it's cool. I had the honor of talking with Pearl a little bit about it. I think there's a lot of choice on this team that like kind of line up with how I saw Dozo before Lille, like from having talked with Lex and Marcus and people, and then some ways that it's like, perhaps a little bit better than that. The Lex and Marcus version of the team are really like, I guess, what originally Greek players like Pastor and Liakos built. I think just having like Tornadus gives you a little bit more like oomph to the team, and even in tough matchups, you can still like kind of just try and like tailwind your way out of them. Definitely don't think it's like a perfect Dondozo team by any means, but I like that it's like a very original take on it.
Funnily enough, I started the tournament 0-1, and this is what I played round 1. So it's definitely a good team. Like, I was kind of overcompensating for the Dozo mode, and I kind of just got caught into Torn Glamour game 1. And it was just really, really annoying. Like, it has good coverage right now. Poison is a really good type. Power Gem's really strong. The Life Orb Shifu is super annoying. And, yeah, like, I don't like Ability Shield Tatsugiri. It feels like a waste of an item because you just lose to Weezing anyway. But other than that, like, all the choices on this team are pretty frustrating. I also think Dozo should have Wave Crash, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I strongly agree about water coverage on Dozo. Like I think Order of Earthquake just feels really bad playing against like people using Dozo on ladder, and they don't have Wave Crash. Just like great, I get to leave Pokemon out in front of you that I really shouldn't be allowed to, and I'm just gonna get off completely free attacks because you don't have your strongest move.
Yeah, just like a fairy type in grassy terrain, you can't touch me. Like, and that's not uncommon at all.
Right.
No, it's incredibly easy to set up.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, every team with Rillaboom Fluttermane is just such a I mean, thing is, like, you can beat Rillaboom Fluttermane too. You just have to be a little Glamour dependent. But yeah, that was the combo that I think Alex was saying he used to beat Ability Shield Dozo with his, or Ability Shield Tats with his Weezing team at Sacramento Regionals in the last round of Swiss. Which,
Yeah.
if you're losing to Weezing anyways, you might as well just cut the Ability Shield and run something that maybe fixes or hedges another matchup.
Exactly. Like,
The Tats item really isn't so important on this, like after having used it at a PC myself with safety goggles, and that also felt completely irrelevant. And I played Weezing and kind of wished that I had the option to go with Ability Shield. It's almost
Bright
like
Powder.
the team that Kaylin was using, and yep, Bright Powder, where the item just does not matter so much.
Focus Band, maybe even too. Red Card. These are all great options. Like, I could go on.
I mean, you do have a Choice Scarf available, but obviously that's a very different set.
Yeah.
Abhay?
I guess with a substitute over like Wave Crash, I think like they're probably just like trying to make it a Moongus matchup. I think that's really it. Because otherwise it looks like the Moongus. You have to play really aggressive into it, and then that could be a bit shaky or inconsistent. So substitute those areas, just like yeah, screw Moongus. You're not.
So the problem with Substitute Dozo is it's not at. Oh, sorry.
Oh, and I was just saying, like, they're just kind of saying if they keep it to Flutterville, they might just, like, I don't know.
The problem with Substitute Dozo, and like this is something that I learned early on in Regulation B after having used a lot of Sub Dozo, is that it doesn't actually beat a Moongus. Like a Moongus is just going to use a partner to break your substitute, and the speed tiers are probably going to work out such that Dozo will just like eventually fall asleep anyway, and your opponent will do what we call the hokey pokey, where a Moongus regenerates in and out and pollen puffs its partners, and just by connecting one spore, your opponent like suddenly they have 4 Pokemon at 100% health again, and I don't even think Substitute really helps you avoid that. I think if anything, like maybe it helps you do Glamour stuff a little bit better, but honestly, like if you're really putting your poisons down with Glamour, I think just Protect Cycling is enough to like already make those games very, very good for you. Glamour is so strong. Like it is personally maybe one of my favorite parts of the team.
I mean, I'm still maybe this is actually a Glamora team, like with those opposing, because all 6 Pokemon that protect, you click Moral Spin, you get your Toxic Debris up, click Protect like 6 times during the game, you take all the poison damage, and then eventually you KO all the Pokemon. So that might be the idea overall, actually.
I mean, and also if you are in a position where you really can't damage something, you can just substitute to just maybe stall out a Grassy Trade or start getting that poison chip with sub protect, and that's the way that if you especially having run some like more balancey teams that you don't necessarily have something that actually outspeeds the Dondozo, it's really easy to get caught in that sort of a substitute trap where you can't ever damage it for 8 turns and then you just lose the game because all your mons die. So that is like a real reason to run substitute more so than the Among Us matchup. But yeah, I guess like that's one of the consequences of Among Us kind of dropping off in the metagame is Dozo has had a relatively strong showing at Lille Regionals. I don't remember how common it was at Toronto. I feel like there was it got 9th place. So it was a top tables in Toronto as well, although it didn't quite convert.
I think I'm a hater. I think it just sucks. And I just don't like it. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel as good as it used to be, and it's a little one-trick pony.
I want to like it more, but yeah, I'm just convinced Ozo's like a mid-tier team. Sometimes you're going to lose games to it in Swiss, but I don't really think it's ready to win a tournament anytime soon, like short of massive developments that just we have not seen yet. Mm-hmm. I think the closest we might have had to that was like Sacramento, like maybe if I don't really think there's a world in which Lex or Marcus win that tournament, unfortunately. I just don't think this is well positioned enough.
It's still just too weak to like fairy types and grassy terrain and stuff.
What I did see is that at least at Toronto, Dozo is at looks like 3.87% usage, and I was doing the math and I was like, okay, that means you're gonna face it twice every 3 tournaments, or one in every 1.5 tournaments. So something like that, right? So like you can, on average, you're gonna go a whole tournament and not see it. Like it's like a 50-50 if you actually see it or not. So I think that it's one of those things where like if you disrespect it, it's obviously gonna mess you up, and it could easily get to a point where it is disrespected enough where it can cut tournaments. But yeah, it does have to hit some matchups. It does have enough matchups that I feel like it just can't beat that. It's gonna be hard for it to actually win a tournament.
I mean, that's one of the things about Dondozo. Like, I think the current metagame is kind of just set up in such a way that, like, you don't really have to go out of your way to respect Dondozo on a lot of top teams. Or there's there's a Sanvi tweet about this that's just perfect about how in, like, Series 1, your metagame, I am going to find the tweet and I'm going to link it in our chat and you will pull it up and everyone will laugh.
Okay.
Talk about other things for a second. I'm still finding it.
Yeah, I could see it winning. Not really. Like, I'm just gonna say that I can see it winning, and I don't believe in it. But just because anything can win, I just think it's bad though. Like, I don't know. It's like such a dedication to like your slots to how the game. Okay, Chuppa's tweets here.
just stalling for time. Series 1 Dondozo matchups. So my team has Haze Murkrow, Gastrodon, Clearspog of Mugus, Meowscarada, and Crit Hydreigon. Matchup feels even. Regulation D Dondozo matchup. I click Resisted Surging Strikes into it a bunch of times. Matchup is at, we're 60-40. Yeah?
This is exactly what it feels like. Top teams right now just like do not actually have to work very hard to be good against Dondozo, and it's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really funny tweet. Urshifu was so broken. It's just changed everything.
Yeah, Urshifu, man, that Mon, they really needed to nerf that Mon. That Mon was not okay. But don't worry, guys. Wicked Blow is 5 base power weaker now. It's fine. Don't worry. All right. Last but not least, this one I want Raghav's opinion on because this is the snow team that cut, which is very similar to your team, except they replaced the Heatran with a King Gambit, I think.
I don't fucking get it. Why?
I don't get it either. I thought the Heatran was the best part, or not the best part of the team, but like
It's like the most important.
it was one of the strongest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Also,
this is,
Gleam
like,
just
what
sounds
they're
horrible. It already does 0 damage. At Sacramento, I moon blasted a Roaring Moon and it lived. Like, this Gleam's gonna be doing 20% then. I think, I mean, clearly it worked for Maxime, but, so I'm sure they played it differently. King Gambit's just a beast, but, like, Heatran was definitely the main purpose of the team. The other mons are all super solid. King Gambit's obviously solid too. But yeah, I just don't get it. Like, some of the changes, like the Terra Fire backs, okay, I can see that. Maybe resisting steel is important to you. Resisting fire is important to you. Can get it. It's a little weaker into Urshifu though. And adding high horsepower to the Rillaboom, I can also understand because just can't have enough Heatran checks or Rock Dog checks.
Especially with like King Gambit instead of Heatran, which is just like pretty explicitly negative against any Heatran that can Terra Fairy instead of Heatran, where it's like you still kind of have a Pokemon.
Yeah, like Heatran had Earth Power coverage, so you're kind of just putting it on the Rillaboom now. Yeah, I do love U-turn as a move. I do like it more. Even on my team, I had U-turn until literally the night before the regional, and I was like, I need another way to hit Heatran. I'll just put high horsepower on. I didn't test it at all, but I think I made the right choice. But in an ideal like scenario on every team, I always like prefer having U-turn on Rillaboom because it just increases the pivotability of your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as like Heavy Slam versus Volt Switch on Iron Hands a lot of times, right? Like Volt Switch is really, really good, but you also really do need the Heavy Slam.
Yeah. Interestingly, Paul and Marco ran Volt Switch, both of them.
I did not notice that. That is also interesting. Yeah. I mean, again, Fluttermane usage has decreased, so it does kind of make sense. Maybe you get to make that concession again a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. As somebody using an aggressive Flutter team against hands, if I see Volt Switch on the team sheet, I just get to take risks that feel kind of illegal because I know the hands can't actually remove me in one hit.
You've never been a rule follower, Chuppa.
Never.
I'm a pro Volt Switcher. I think Volt Switch is like pretty broken on hands. I will say it like definitely makes like the matchup into say like what Chuppa and Sandy use a lot harder, but I don't think that matchup is that good anyway, even with Heavy Slam, because then like I don't know, they can just play better into your Heavy Slam. But with Volt Switch is I've also seen like even on some of the earlier versions of like balanced compositions that Japanese players that run say like Z or UV slow in regulation E, they've been Volt Switchers as well, and at least having used it myself with it. It's really nice into pretty much any other team except for Tailwind. So I think that's
You've also seen like in last year, Amelia ran Volt Switch and Heavy Slam, dropping Wild Charge. I don't think you get to do that in this format because of Urshifu, but maybe we can just drop Fake Out guys. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Volt Switch Heavy Slam is still dual stab. I think it's fine.
I think it's cool, but I don't know. It's tough.
I thought of a great balancing decision. What if, these fake out Assault Vest Pokemon, they're getting kind of cheesy. I think they're a little bit broken. What if we classified fake out as a support move so you can't click it on Assault Vest anymore and you have to start running like, I don't know, Rock Slide as your last move on Iron Hands?
Okay, you would not. You would just run Volt Switch Heavy Slam, Chubba.
What if I were to hit Charizard?
Wild Charge.
But I think that'd be funny. I think at that point, no, I think that's a great decision. It's less like, thing is, I feel like a lot of these fake out Pokemon never really needed the AV, right? Like Rillaboom has Miracle Seed, was just fine. In Cineroar, we had Parting Shot, so you can get to run AV for a long time, or for last generation. But yeah, Iron Hand specifically does get like very heavily nerfed by that because it does not have a second item that it really wants to run. Although I think Citrus Berry is like, especially, I think it's always going to be the same format as Fluttermane because they came out. They're kind of the same classification of Pokemon, Paradox Pokemon. But But yeah, if it ever comes into a format where there isn't a powerful fairy type, then it kind of gets to do whatever it wants without worrying about the AV.
I miss Incineroar.
Same.
I'll say it.
Same. I miss Incineroar too.
If fake out's a support move, you can't fake out Goldenko either. That's a big move.
You can't do it anyway.
Oh, okay, thanks. Oh, I forgot.
Good as gold.
No, that, yeah, I'm so dumb.
All right. So on that note, let's go ahead and I have the rest of the teams from day 2 of Lille pulled up. I also have the top cut explorer where we can talk about any like metagame trends if there's a Pokemon you want me to look at. But I'm gonna go one by one. Someone and y'all got to lead the discussion for at least 5 minutes about what you want to talk about from Lille Regionals. So Abhay, anything stand out for you at Lille Regionals? Either a cool team that made day 2 or a Pokemon that you want to talk about.
I thought the Gothitelle in top 4 was pretty cool. It like looks kind of similar to the normal Dragonite Chimtao compositions. But I thought this was just kind of a cool take on like this impressive like physical spam where instead you just have that top Shifu mode. It looks like you put in like a decent amount of work in some of the stream sets I saw. And it looks like they also kind of took the idea from Riley of having like that AV Dragonite to be able to switch up your moves and have like a bulkier matchup with like Tailwind teams. So this was one team that at least like stood up to me. That was just at least interesting. I think also this player Miguel Murphy, I think he goes by Sekium. He's like a pretty big Spanish streamer, I think. So I don't know if he's had very big finishes before, but it's pretty impressive at least to me.
Didn't he win internet?
He has.
Oh,
He won the first London. Wasn't that the first IC ever?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, I think Sakyum's been a pretty big like VGC player and streamer for like most of his career. It's kind of funny that you know him like as a streamer first and foremost.
Yeah, he's also vegan, I've heard. So just want to throw that out there.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
amazed.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow, that changes how I think about this team.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, he's also had finishes, I feel like, in 2014 or something. Like, I don't know. He's just been playing for a long time.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
he
he's
might
cool too,
he might have like a really good Worlds finish or something. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure he cut Worlds at some point because I feel like he was on Trista's image from like 2010 or something like that. But I feel like he's been playing forever.
Yeah, I'll say I don't know when he peaked.
Hold up, Wikipedia will know. I cannot spell.
Scam.
Oh my god.
Scam.
Sekium Wikipedia.
Tough.
There we go. Yeah, look, 2014 World Championships. He got top 4. He got knocked out by Sejin. Or top 8, sorry. Top 8.
Oh.
oh,
Huh.
all right, my bad.
I forget if that was streamed or not.
But yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah. That cut was so weird. Collins there? Like, what is going on?
right? Like, I mean, that just really tells us how much VGC has improved since 2014. You know, Jody doesn't cut events anymore. Colin doesn't cut in events anymore. Aaron doesn't cut in events anymore. Like, where'd all the top players go?
That's not true. Colin still cuts.
Jody does too. I'm just talking shit.
Oh, yeah, Jody's also been.
He doesn't even play the game anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize how good Colin actually was because we were talking about, like, Chuppa, you've gotten second so many times. Dude, Colin's gotten second so many times. I never realized he's got, like, so many finals appearances. I just know him as a guy who likes milk.
Oh yeah, I bet Abhay also only knows Lee Provost as that content creator guy too.
That's literally that was my thought. So I was like, oh wow, that's something.
Osiris. Nah, he's also OG.
All right, yeah, I do. We were talking about Gothitelle, so I did want to bring us back because I mentioned that Billa also ran Gothitelle with Urshifu, although this team is very different. And so obviously, yeah, like okay. Also, I will say. I said that that Sekium's team looked like Riley's team, and immediately was met by, no, it doesn't. And then Abhay said it too, so I'm glad that someone agrees with me, at least sees the resemblance.
I mean, yeah, it's the same Dragonite set, like, sure.
But Anyways, I did want to pull up Billa's team because it's also a pretty cool Gothitelle team that I imagine is built around the same concept of like Gothitelle Urshifu is broken and Gothitelle Fluttermane is also probably very powerful.
Sorry, whose team is this?
This is Billa's team.
Oh,
There's Villa VGC Akos' team.
this just looks so weak, the Fluttermane to me. Like, that's my issue with it.
Yeah, I feel like the Scarf Urshifu, at least on Sekium's version, gave it a lot better of a matchup into like aggressive Fluttermane or just like real Fluttermane that ran like booster specs or yeah.
And
booster or
Rillaboom,
type of
and
thing.
like the option to like the AV Dragonite if you Terra, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot more threatening options on Sekium's team.
This looks fairly similar, honestly, just to like a regular balance composition. You just kind of have a Gothitelle over, say, like an Amogus or like some other like fire type, like a Heatran or something like that. But maybe they built it around like the idea of like Goth Flutter or something, or like Goth Lander and like double takeout to set up the King Gambit. I think that might be the idea, but I don't really know.
Yeah, it might be like a King Gambit is broken type team.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing that you can do on the Billa version that you can't do in the Sekium version that I think Nails pointed out was you can kind of just like cycle detect, switch, and fake out searching strikes, detect, switch, and fake out searching strikes. It's like that kind of stuff is really uninteractive if you've like set up your boards correctly, just because they can't protect from it.
That just reminds me of Rilla in Sinner Shifu back in those times,
Yes, the good old days. Series 10.
And then you can just run the bulky Urshifu, Mystic Water Urshifu. Yeah.
Yes, I also feel nostalgic for that format. All right, so Chuppa, it's your turn. Give me a team that made day 2, or give me a Pokemon that you wanted to see in the Explorer.
Here, let me just go like full screen. I'm kind of just like looking at this. Oh god, Amorous got top 32 here. How did that happen? No, don't click on that. We don't even talk about it. I'm trying to think what else there is to talk about. Like, I guess one thing that I find kind of interesting is like I honestly did not look at this regional very closely below the 11-3 teams when I was like kind of reviewing finishes from it. I think I did not realize Eric Rios did quite that well with. Well, I knew that Eric Rios finished well, but I didn't know it was the same team that he brought to Toronto a few weeks later. So Eric really taking a page out of Michael's book and trying to learn about this, like Tyranitar, Arcanine, and Friends stuff with Cresselia instead of Iron Bundle. I think it's just it's a pretty interesting take on that archetype.
Yeah, and I think he finished 9-5 at Toronto. But his stream match against Kyle was a little unfortunate. Kyle missed a bunch of moves, but like did really showcase the power of Cresselia on that team and did something that that Michael's bundle probably didn't do nearly as well, which is that if your Komodo look at something that has Will-O-Wisp on it, suddenly it has a lot harder time winning the game. But now the Cresselia kind of solves that problem, which was cool to see against Kyle's Weezing team.
Well, that is pretty cool, especially with the Mental Herb.
I think Crest is also better into like two of the best defensive pieces in the format, in like Lando Iron Hands, which like it's not like his team is like bad against it, but it sounds like it's free against those two Pokemon. So Crest is definitely it's like arguably the strongest like individual like piece into that pairing, just with a psychic ice move and then all the bulk as well. So I think it's a cool dimension.
Yeah, I do like this team. I mean, obviously, I lost to Michael at Sacramento, and I think just kind of based on rewatching it, he really showcased how good Arcanine Hisui is with Wisp, and just like even committing that Terra is like so worth it. So he kind of reverse engineered that thought and was like, okay, well if I have Lunar Blessing, Wisp is so much less threatening on my team. So I do like the change, and I do think there's some flexibility, but he still keeps like the but F boosting, Arcanine and Sand, like Como just does so much damage with Body Press because it's stab. Yeah, so I think it's cool that it's kind of seeing consistency. It wasn't just like a weird Como team that did well. It's like being used by, some of the best players in the world.
One thing that I haven't really like thought about because this archetype, like I've always felt it was strong, but it wasn't really something that I want to use. Why is Terra Psychic, Terra Blast, Tyranitar, like why are you doing that instead of like something else? The other four moves look great. Um like convince me why it's like Terra Psychic instead of like anything else that it could be.
Well,
Like I don't
on
know.
if you
this
watch
team,
the team report from Michael that is on my YouTube channel right now, you can learn the answers to that and more. Um, he
okay, but it doesn't make
No,
sense.
no, you're right. I do have to do that. I really want to hear you pick Michael's brain about the team.
But it doesn't make sense if you had Crest, because you have psychic coverage now. Like Okidogi is not as scary.
I don't think it was ever specifically for psychic coverage. I forget exactly what he said, but the one funny thing that he said about this, because this was very memorable, was that by having Terra Psychic, you incentivize Landorus's and I guess Urshifusu to click U-turn into you, because I think regardless of what you do, it's going to be reliable damage. But then you just get to attack, just get to click your buttons regardless, and that's a positive thing that they're like not playing aggressively into a Tyranitar, potentially like a Tyranitar Arcanine even board state. And so that was one thing that he said was cool about it, was just like the psychological aspect of baiting people into clicking certain moves to play around Terra. But man, I forgot. It was something specific. I forget what it is, but like you mentioned, the Cresselia is also there for psychic damage. So I don't think it's offensive. I think it was defensive.
Yeah,
You
I
also had
mean,
Amoonguss.
that's true. I think just like Fairy does similar things defensively and is like a really good type, but I can see where like Psychic has some advantages.
Oh, honestly,
Yeah,
yeah,
I-
Psychic for Amoonguss seems really like
yeah.
that's pretty valuable on this team. The problem is, I already don't think this is a very like difficult team to move a Landorus in and out against. Swapping from like Bundle to Cress is like going to be a bit of a side grade on that front. And once Tyranitar is at -1, like Amoonguss is just not afraid of a Terra Blast, especially because they're all like max bold right now. So it seems like sure you're going to have a way to hit Amoonguss, but Amoonguss can probably still like pretty easily be snacking on one of those.
And I promise
It's
you, there's a good
Kimura,
answer
maybe?
that he mentioned in the team report that was recorded several weeks ago, so I've forgotten about it. But yeah, he had
Well,
justification for it.
go watch the video.
Go watch the video. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you to do. I can watch the video too, and now you can't even use ad block on it. So really, you click on all the ads that you see that you never seen before. But yeah, okay. So Eric Rios' team is a good shout. I guess that covers 2 tournaments worth of teams because we don't have to talk about his Toronto team now. Although I think he made some changes. I don't think he was Terra Psychic at Toronto. I think that was different. So maybe he didn't get it either.
Oh, really? I
thought he was.
I don't remember. I thought it was pretty similar.
I think it was similar outside of that, but he was. No, he was. Okay, never mind. He was still Terra Psychic, Toronto. It might have been the exact same team. I didn't see any changes actually. Now that I look,
Even the
When will
nicknames
the
are the same.
lies stop?
I think it's the
Ali?
same
Oh,
thing.
there's Protect Over Owl on the Arcanine.
that was there
That was also
at Lille as well.
No,
that
he,
is different
he was
from
already
Michael's team.
protect.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the question.
But okay, so Raghav, you are up. Last but not least, give me a team, or give me a Pokemon that you want to look at the in the Top Cut Explorer.
So I know it's not there, but can you just check if there's a Regidrago? Like,
Yeah, there is. There's one that made D2.
okay.
There's 5 that got points. There's 2 in top 32.
No.
They're both on Hard Trick Room. The two Spanish players that look like them they work together.
Yeah, yikes. Never mind.
And there are 3 that.
Oh, we have Steam.
What's up?
Oh wait, no.
I said
Grant's
that-
team is the Grant team. Right?
The Grants team?
Or
That was
the,
at Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto. Same
Well-
six, right?
Dude, Rogov, I think you're just ripping off Liam Critcher and Gustavo's team. Like, you changed
Yeah,
one
actually.
mon on it, and suddenly you're calling it yours.
We're actually
I think
really
that's
close.
actually whipping off Rinya's son, but it's just Goldango over Zacian.
Dude, they even got. Those are all my sets.
Oh my god.
Did they get it from you off ladder, or did you get it from them off
original
ladder?
players these days.
Dude, I think, like, Liam is their name, right? Liam and I have like a special connection. Like we really just come to the same conclusions a lot of the time. We make the same jokes. Like it's really weird.
So you're saying I should go and start DMing Liam for teams?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Brilliant mind.
They're using stomping over high horsepower. This guy's traumatized.
He
They're
does
about
have
the accuracy.
No, stop.
That was the first thing I noticed, and I was like, okay.
That's tough. This is their regulation D
Wait.
team. They didn't bother updating it. There's no grassy glide.
There's
There's no grassy glide.
Hey, you might be right.
They queued up with the team they brought to Barcelona and were like, I don't need to make any changes.
Respect. But do you want me to pick another team like on the?
If
on
you
the
want,
wheel?
if there's nothing you want to talk about, but we got a lot of cool stats, and I'm a huge data nerd, so I will happily look at any Pokemon stats, whatever.
All right, data nerd, go for it.
Yeah. All right. Is there? I think that okay. Let's see. What Pokemon I want to look at? I think Ogerpon, right? Because Ogerpon, Wellspring was really common at this regional. It was the fourth most common used. I guess we can filter into day 2 as well. And you can see it did fall off a little bit in day 2, but yeah, it's still much higher usage than we saw at Toronto, where it completely fell off. And so I'm curious, what the Europeans did, and also specifically, there was that one team that we saw like 30 of at Barcelona. That was Ogerpon, Water, Heatran, Fluttermane, Iron Hands, Landorus. I forgot what the last was. There was a flex spot, right? And I guess there's only 3.
Cresselia are movies.
But it looks like there's 3 of
Everyone
them.
ran a different 6th slot.
Yeah, and I think we saw a few different people run a few different things. Like this was the Iliumycene too, right? Was these 5? So I think that these 5 were all over the place at the midseason showdown. I think Madrid midseason showdown, and then all of they were in Chi-Yu over Heatran, right? At in Europe, and I forget who was running what, but these 4, I guess, was either Heatran or Chi-Yu.
That's what Jeremy Parson started using, right?
Yeah.
Back at the first or second regional, the first, I think.
Although no one ran it with Chi-Yu at this event. And so the Chi-Yu version completely fell off, and the Heatran version, which I believe was the North American one, was much more common here.
I think Edu's been using the Heatran version since the beginning, though.
In that case, maybe it was the Chi-Yu version that was Jeremy Parsons. I forget.
Yeah, I feel like Americans like Chi-Yu more just because, it's more weaponry. You know what I'm saying? A little bit more damage.
We got a question for Chuppa. What is Clefairy's base defense?
It's like 48, isn't it?
I think it actually is 48. I think that sounds right.
I have no clue.
Wait a second. No, I'm pretty sure it is that, and I know that because I've seen like one of the versions of Gavin's team that's max defense, and it hits 110, which you'd get with 48 base stat. Yeah, it's 48.
There you go, Zach. Now you know. But yeah, okay.
Can we look at Alex's team?
Yeah, this was a team that I was curious if it was going to kind of stick around because it felt like the standard team for a week. But yeah, 3 in top 128 is not bad. 2 in day 2, but 2 very good players, including Alex, who did pivot to Magma Storm Heatran, which I don't think he was doing before. So that's your personal innovation. And then I think we saw him lose on stream to Dendozo with Hayes. With Hayes Chenpao.
Hayes Pow is so bad. Oh my, please run like any other move on that Pokemon.
I think I want to call out that Magnastorm is Heatran's only fire move on this team.
But if you just hit it, it's fine.
So for the longest time, I thought Magnastorm was like 80, 85 accuracy, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's why I did it. But no, it's 75, so if Alex is just like a brain cat.
When I put it on my team, I thought it was 50 accuracy. And I was like, dude, I'm hitting way more than half of them.
That's just good.
No, dude, 50 accuracy is Inferno.
I didn't like having it as my only fire move, but I mean, it was working for him. I do think Hayes is troll for sure. I think Rock Tomb is cool. I was using Rock Tomb Landorus for the longest time, but I was running like a defensive Terra, but flying coverage is too good. And I ended up just going Rock Slide because flinchy. But I do like the dynamic Rock Tomb adds to a team. Especially if like
I think it's
your Ogerpon's faster than Scarf Lando, stuff like that. If you're Jolly Lando with Rock Tomb, you Rock Tomb the Urshifu because they're adamant, and then your Fluttermane gets to move. There's just a lot of cool interactions you can do.
I think it's interesting that teams like this have kind of fallen off, but at the same time, like it kind of makes sense. I think it's kind of just like I think this year of EGC is really like your teams probably should excel at one thing or another, and this team doesn't have like the same bulk as the Amoonguss versions, like what Paul and Jude use, and it's not as offensive as like a Tornadus team would be. It's just somewhere in the middle, and you might as well specialize in one of those.
Important to note there's no speed control on the team. So when you're like no speed control, you have to be able to outbulk, and you're just not like you just get smacked by something you like your six Chuppa like
Yeah.
Ogre
Dude,
Punch
like,
really.
what exactly is this
Oh,
Chen Pao enabling? This Chen Pao is going to hurt its like partners about as much as it helps them, honestly.
Well, it's Terra Dragon Haze, so
Right, it's going to sit on the field for a really long time.
maybe like yeah, it's actually the Ogerpon Hearth Flame counter.
I think that it's a
Yeah,
5-mon team, and they put this on as a 6th-mon for like 2 matchups. I got to imagine that's what it is.
So,
So I bring up, like, I don't think that was ever on the old for the quad, but I don't see this might have been the event like people stop people working in problems with butter. Like I don't know if I've ever like really that good. But after this event, it really does feel like every over water is really like I feel the least is of the team at my first, but then like use it so because we're getting over the water. So I feel like it breaks that with the form, especially with all like the graphics and graphics type of stuff. Yeah, this is not a big thing.
You kind of cut out for me, but I agree completely.
Thanks.
Abhay, yeah, you sound a little underwater. Do you want to like try reconnecting your mic or something? Okay, thank you. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it sounds like you're mumbling a little bit, but all right. Back? Not back?
But I could just tell he was like spitting facts.
Yeah, for sure. I could hear, about 60-70% of the words, and they all made total sense. So,
He mentioned Fluttermane. I see that. I see where he's coming from there.
he's onto something. Love him or hate him.
all right. And so I think that's going to wrap up what we're going to talk about for Lille. Lille, one thing we didn't talk about that I didn't mention, I didn't prepare, but I just thought about it because it happened, was the tie. There was a tie at Lille, a draw, and that was because 2 Greek players who were friends played against each other. And they were both playing, I believe it was a Dindozo team, that was just like leftovers, and I guess they potentially just didn't have any bulk and just decided they were never going to actually be able to KO each other, which doesn't seem right because you have the Glamora, right? You should be able to beat them if they lead to Dozo.
I don't know. I think it's much easier to have these kinds of ties, I guess, with Don Toso, and especially if you guys are running the exact same team. But it does seem a little sus. Like
So you
ties are
technically-
pretty impossible.
You're not allowed to do it, and if the natural conclusion is a tie, right? Like, okay, for example, Raghav, I know you were talking about you ran Rest and Dozo at one regional, right? And you said that the way that mirror works is you just both lead them, because if you ever take damage with any other Pokemon, you lose on time.
Yeah, and that was so stupid. I got knocked out of that tournament in a 4v4 endgame, losing on total HP. Like we were both max health. Like it was so stupid.
Right, and so in that situation, if you have Rest, specifically if you have Rest, then I understand being like, okay, this is always going to end in a tie if we both play optimally, which is that we both don't like let any of our other Pokemon take damage.
Yeah.
I don't think this game immediately goes to a tie, just because I think Glamora does change the matchup if they lead to Nozo Tatsugiri.
Yeah, and you can't just rest it off.
And And
Yeah,
yeah,
now that I'm looking at this, like, I don't know how exactly, like, because from talking with them, they made it seem like, oh, you could try and break, like, the stalemate by using different leads, but it would basically be a huge risk that wasn't worth it for you. And now that I'm looking at this, I don't really know, like, what's stopping early game, like, Glamora or Iron Hands or something like that from working out. I don't know, honestly, like, maybe something
Blizzard
worth
freeze.
looking into.
I will say, if you are doing this with your friends, you're not allowed to do it, as far as I know. But this is like don't do it anyways. Like it's actively bad for you. If your goal is to cut the regional, you have to go 12-2 or 11-3 with good resistance. Which means that if you go 10-3-1, you are guaranteed to not cut. You're guaranteed to finish down here. And so you still have to win 11 games. And if you still have to win 11 games, that means a tie is basically a loss.
What about
counts.
11-1?
11-3-1 is an extra round.
No, 11-1.
11-2-1 cuts, yeah. But at that point, if you had just lost the round, you would have finished 11-3. So it's the same thing, right?
I don't know. I just don't tie. It's stupid.
Well, yeah, so what happens in like the TCG is again ties like sometimes they're just gonna eliminate you from a tournament when it's like, no, you just need to win to stay in the tournament. If you tie, you and your opponent are both gonna be eliminated. And I think players will like I'm not even sure exactly how they agree to like determine who wins, but TCG players know how to avoid ties. It's yeah, like Adi said, ties just aren't for your tournament and you should avoid them at all costs.
Um, I will say that there is a oh, hello, back. You're back up, Abhay. I will say that there is a situation where ties are sometimes potentially beneficial, which is I think if 10-4s would cut the regional, then it actually does. It is technically in your best. Like if you have the opportunity, which again I don't think you can do without. You're not supposed to talk to agree to result before the match. Is essentially what the rule is. So you can't tell your friend you're going to tie. But if the inevitable outcome is a tie, or if in the case of what I think happened with Pasteur and the Greek players is that they decided that to be risk averse, where there might have been lines, but there was also they just led the thing. Then they were guaranteed to a tie, and they decided that was in the best interest. I think is what happened. But if 10-4s would cut, then in that case you do actually only have to win 10 games if you tie and go 10-3-1. In which case it is like debatably a good thing. But yeah, I think that in most regionals nowadays, if it has over 400 players, tying is effectively a loss. So it's just not worth doing.
Win.
Just win. Speaking of winners, let's talk about Toronto regionals. we got the players who finished first place. We got Chuppa. We got top 4 Raghav, and then Abhay, I believe finished top 32. Is that right?
No, I just got top. I think I got top 64 or something. I like dropped a little bit early in day 2.
Okay, but you did make it all the way to day 2. Here you go, 8-4. So I guess Abhay, since we are on you right now, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in Toronto?
Wait, you would land
yeah.
I?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was cool.
God, you're hot, man.
So I just like to talk about the team the way I like team I was under around their 40 and basically. Then I played someone using this.
All right, you are going to have to
You're
talk
coming
into your
out.
microphone. Well, alternatively, we can give it a okay. You want to try again? No. All right, we'll come back to you, Raghav. Wait.
Is that better?
Oh, that is so much better. Hold up. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, it's better now.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yay.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, essentially the way I like found this team is I was laddering at 4 a.m. a couple of days before the regional, and someone was using this 6. And I sent this to like some of my friends. I was like, wait, this 6 seems pretty cool. And one of them told me that, or Bars told me that his friend Reiki at Lille used 5 of the same 6 Pokemon, but with an Urshifu Dark over the King Gambit, and they got like top 16 or something like that. And so I essentially decided to lock in like a pretty similar team. I changed some terrors. I changed like a little bit of the sets since I thought the Landorus Eye specifically was a pretty cool form of like special attack damage in the format. And I really like the idea of how it punished any Heatran Terra. So that was basically the overall idea. I kept the Flutter as speed booster since I felt like a fast option was just kind of needed, just to be nice against like Dragonite Chien-Pao specifically. Um, but other than that, a lot of the choices I would say are like fairly standard. Like I also thought the Wisp Hisui Arcanine was just a very strong set and was very punishing. And to say like King Gambit, if you like recall like Emilio's Fresno winning team from Regulation C. The Wisp Arcanine there comboed really well with King Gambit on that team to punish Iron Hands, and I think going into this tournament, I had a similar thought towards that pairing, especially since a lot of Urshifu Water are adamant, and so I ended up going just to give away my spread. I just went like a Max Jolly Arcanine Hisui, so I can pretty much Wisp a lot of the Urshifus if I just since pretty much all of them were Jolly. So I wasn't too afraid to lead Arcanine into like Urshifu Rillaboom compositions, just to be able to get control, put a Wisp down. They might be forced to fake out the Arcanine and pivot out and stuff like that. So that was the overall idea.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I like ICU and Flutter a lot, especially when you have like a damage dealer like Land Eye, and then you set up King Gambit. Maybe an ISO Ender 2 changes some of those speed tiers.
Yeah, the overall thought is I just wanted to take advantage of like Landorus, Therian, and Heatran being like two of the most common Pokemon in the format, and just punish them for being good Pokemon, essentially.
I just had a knock at my door and I was like, wait, who would knock on my door right now? And then I remembered it was Halloween.
Did you have any candy for that?
No, well,
Someone
no,
just-
I'm streaming
What?
right now, and I also
Why?
my porch light isn't on. This neighborhood does not get trick or treaters. It's an apartment. I'm very surprised. Anyways,
Did you scare them? Did you yell at the children?
no,
You're
I'm on
telling me you hate children.
I've been on camera the entire time. Everyone has seen me except for you guys.
I actually muted because someone rang my bell, and I guess that might have been why.
All right. So, all right. Let's see. I got distracted by the knocking. Let's go and talk about Raghav. You got top 4. You want to talk a little bit about your experience at Toronto?
Yeah, I went into this tournament knowing I just didn't want to bring my Sacramento team because, South Asians, they tend to have high blood pressure, and Magma Storm just wasn't helping. So I thought maybe this time I'll use something a little bit more accurate, so I switched to Bleak Wind Storm. And I feel like overall, this style of team, just Torn or Shifu, is just so broken. Like, these are just game-breaking mechanics. These are just really strong Pokemon. Like Abhay was saying, I also thought Will-O-Wisp was really good in the meta right now. So I really liked how basically the core of Urshifu Water, Rillaboom, and Rock Dog, I really liked them a lot. I was also spending a lot of time with Goldie, and once you have those 4, Torn just checks all the boxes of like the next Mon. Like, it has speed control, flying coverage, and Rain Dance is just so nice. Like, it boosts Urshifu's damage, and it's so nice into Heatran, which otherwise, has a bit of a fun time depending on the rest of their team. So the Torn just kind of fit naturally. The 6 slot was always changing. At the end of the day, it was between Regidrago and Fluttermane, and I legitimately just picked Regidrago because I thought it was cooler. I wanted that slot to punish like Terra Dragons, just because I don't have fairy coverage. I don't have a lot for like a Terra Dragon, which was kind of increasing in the format. But Regidrago also just made it like a really strong Mon, even into Psy Spam, and just like if the team didn't have Fluttermane, it was really, really threatening. So I was really happy with the decision I did make. Yeah, I don't know what more there is to say about the team. I guess some of the smaller choices, like Terra Poison or Shifu, I thought was really nice. I'm always a big fan of the defensive Terra, especially when you have like Rain to boost your damage anyway. Terra Grass Rillaboom, I just felt like I wasn't really ever tearing that guy, and when I did, the offensive Terra was like a lot more useful. I think Terra Grass, Grassy Glide can, pick up the kill on bundle or Shifu. So even if you're not Miracle Seed, I thought it was pretty useful. And then Metal Coat on Goldie was just to pick up the KO on those Flutter Mane, or just like after a nasty plot, some of those calcs that you barely miss a KO on, those things are dead now. And I didn't really miss lefties too much. I didn't like how Life Orb played because of that extra damage you're taking, so Metal Coat was a really good just middle ground. And yeah, other than that, I feel like all the choices are pretty normal. Oh, Protect on Torn. That was solely because the person who helped me get the Torn had Protect on it, and I didn't know how to switch it to Taunt. And at the end of the day, Protect was just really good at stalling certain turns out. And I really liked how it played. Like I was going back and forth between the two. Taunt's better into Amoonguss, but Protect was really good in a lot of other situations, especially how I played the team, which is like more bulky and pivoting until you can kind of get the Urshifu in the right spot. Yeah, I just rambled a little bit. Any questions?
A comment. I think you're right about Protect Torn. I think it's really good. I think especially if you're not Covert Cloak, then so many people will just try to fake you out. Burning your Terra is very high commitment, and the Rocky Helmet isn't like that big a deal to a Rillaboom or to an Iron Hands. So I think that's definitely really strong. And then also people will try to KO your Tornadus on the last one of Tailwind, so that you don't really get to reset it. And so that's another place where Protect is just so high value. And I mean that's just the way that you deal with Tornadus, right? Those are just the stock standard ways of dealing with it. And so it covers both of those in a way that doesn't. Although that being said, Taunt is also a really good move, especially when you have Rillaboom to turn off like Psychic Terrain, for example. Although it sounds like Regidrago really helped with that. You didn't need it as much.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't really need it too much. And versus Amoonguss, I had Golden Go and Rillaboom, and like a Draco does like 1,000,000% to Amoonguss as well. So I had enough for it, I felt. And like you said, on the last turn of Tailwind, clicking Protect is just so much value. You'd be surprised at the amount of times I got 2 Tailwinds up with this team. Just because all my Pokemon were pretty naturally bulky, and Protect was really great.
Mm-hmm. My one question is, you Terra Grass Rillaboom, and I have talked about that with a few different people in Tub, and everyone has. Some people love it, and some people hate it. And you seem to love it, given that you rate it. Tell me about what you liked about it.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, it just kind of picks up the KOs on Bundle and Urshifu, and Fluttermane these days are also just like running so much defense. Sometimes I'm scared that like Woodhammer's not gonna kill. Sometimes you need that extra oomph with the Terra Grass. Like maybe you need to Terra Grassy Glide to just do that like last 60-70%. I don't know. It really was just like I wasn't tearing my Rillaboom very often for defensive reasons. Like it wasn't a mon that I teared very often, but Terra Grass let me find like pockets for pins that otherwise I just wouldn't have. And I think that's literally also the only offensive Terra on the team, which is really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't a Terra I pressed too often, but when I did, I really liked how Terra Grass kind of pinned Bundle and Urshifu, because those are very annoying mons that for any team.
Absolutely. Chuppa, Abhay, any comments, questions about Rago's team?
I really like the Metal Coat.
I think you really like asked. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like Metal Coat, I remember we had one game where it just one shot my Flutter, which I was like, I don't know, I figured it would do that, but it's like cool that it can. Where Lefty's Gold just is usually not going to be able to do that, and just makes it so much more immediately threatening without the downsides of Life Orb.
That was the entire point. Like if you have Torn on your team, you really want to be able to have that go mode. Otherwise, you're just not setting up fast enough. Yeah, also just like I don't know the calcs exactly, but if you get to +2 and you switch your AV mon in like AV Rillaboom, it's still taking like too much. The Metal Coat multiplier was just really great, especially for Fluttermane more than anything.
One other thing I like is even though it like kind of feels like a filler move, the Earth Power on Regidrago feels pretty legit. To support the Goldango. Like against like Heatran's, for example, you do already have say like Urshifu and things like that to help against like to help pin Heatran. But I think Earth Power really kind of like brings that home to say like force it to Terra Fairy and then you get to make it rain and stuff. So oh, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's actually the main thing. The point of this team, like going into it, was I just want to force these Terra Fairies because it's so common right now, and I want to use Golden Go to punish it. So putting high horsepower on the Rillaboom, putting earth power on the Regidrago really helped me kind of punish those Terra Fairy Heatran running around, and just yeah, Terra Fairy Arcanine. That was just another reason why Regidrago fits so well as opposed to Fluttermane is that you really force them to Terra Fairy and you can take advantage of that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. And so I guess with that, Chuppa, you, of course, won this regional. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience at Toronto?
Oh wait, Zach has a question I think about. One second.
Boy, it's
Oh,
another
me
Zach
too.
question. Here we go.
Were your opponents ever able to just wait forever to
I
tail in to
can.
get a big? Sorry, you go ahead.
Were your opponent's Tornadus ever able to wait forever for Tailwind to get a wait forever to Tailwind to get a big Tailwind offset versus you knowing that you can't taunt them? That's the scariest part of no taunt for me.
So you kind of just have to be very intentional about your game plan. You can't just like let the Torn sit there. You have to be threatening pressure onto it kind of at all times. And if they're taunting you, they're also kind of wasting their time. They're not doing damage. They're not tailwinding. So you have to like get a couple turns right, maybe depending on how well your opponent's playing. But really, you just have to put constant pressure. You just have to bleak wind when they're taunting, and then it's usually a pretty good trade because they simply just don't have the turns to mess around. So protect also helps with that, pivoting, getting your threat in. But yeah, I mean, Chuppa, maybe you can actually talk about how it felt for you as the person with taunt. But I
Yeah,
felt like it
no,
was
so
still pretty
I think
playable.
yeah, no, I thought our like Swiss set was super interesting too. Like between Swiss and Top Cut, I really felt like I got to learn a little bit more about how two Tornadus interact because like sure, just by being like the slightly faster Tornadus, I still think I have the edge. But Protect, um, let's say once you know you're the slower Torn, like you can just be trying to switch out on Taunt, which is basically just makes it a completely dead turn. There's really a lot of ways for the slower Tornadus to keep playing, like if you're the Protect set instead of Taunt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Bleak Wind's just such a good move. Like, even the speed drop chance is pretty awesome. Um,
Oh, one thing that I realized about your team that I think I was like talking about this at the tournament because you've got goalie, you just have a better Amoonguss matchup as a team than I do, and that kind of gives you some room to drop taunt when I think like Amoonguss is really the number one thing that I want to be connecting taunts against. If you've got a goalie in the back that you can be bringing Amoonguss, like you have just so much more liberty to run protect. You can be doing like a really slow as heck Tornadus instead of like a slightly faster one like I used. So there's definitely just some like advantages that you get out of that, like kind of as a consequence of having the Golden Go.
Absolutely. That was definitely like the thought behind it. Just because like it's so easy to pivot when you do have protect as well. Like it's easy to get your golden go in. You don't have to rely on that taunt.
Yeah, I think the fact that this team really is just centered around the Golden Go and plays like it has like a very defensive foundation with like the Rilla, Wisp, Arcanine, and stuff like that. Like Protect at least makes a lot of sense to me to play just into that style.
And also like
Yeah.
those Pokemon, like the support bonds, like Torn, had zero offensive EVs. Like all these Pokemon are just as bulky as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Arcanine was unfortunately doing some pretty sad damage to like my Tornadus and stuff.
That's fine. That wasn't the issue.
All right, Chuppa. I guess. Do you want to? Wait? Did Raghav explain that Alex was 90% of the inspiration for the team? Raghav, we got one more question. Sorry, Chuppa.
I answered it in chat.
Oh, okay. And then Chuppa, we got a question for you from Alex too. Will you sign Alex's 3DS?
Oh, dude, anytime, anything for the fans.
All right. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about your run. You this is your first regional. You've got second like what 4 or 5 times now. So
4 times, yeah.
Four.
I was not looking forward to 5. Decided, we'll just cut to the chase.
yeah. So tell me about your experience at Toronto.
Yeah, so I honestly did not go into Toronto with like wildly high expectations. I had been working actively on this team for around a week, probably less than that, honestly. However, had been working like directly with Sanvi, who was like really the one that popularized it and a master of this kind of archetype, and then helped with Zach and Montana as well. So I guess I was able to like get up to speed on the team really quickly, and ultimately I just like felt like I was favored, or at worst like maybe a little bit behind in most of the matchups that I played, and the team ended up feeling like a really great call for the tournament, especially with like the matchups that I ran into. Yeah, just very, very directly based on Sanfi's version of the team. The tweaks from it are super duper minor. Like, just straight up looking at the team sheet, the only changes are I think my Urshifu has Protect where his had Detect, and the Tornadus is Ghost Terror instead of Steel, which I think is like significant, but it's still the same team.
I'm actually
So-
very surprised you did not have Ghost Terror, because if you're not Covert Cloak, you really want it.
Yeah, I think Sanvi felt like it just gave you resist against a few things. Like Zach always said that it was like pretty helpful against hail or snow teams rather, for instance. But I was very happy with Ghost. It came up clutch at a few games, like especially against Abe, who was using your team, and Tornadus was just able to survive an extreme speed that it wouldn't have been otherwise because it didn't do damage.
Yeah,
Ghost is good. It's better.
I also think Rain Dance is usually enough into Hail teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yep,
think this
Rain
team's broken
Dance
too.
is yeah, no, so my friends have like kind of made fun of me for like, having done well with Arcanine after like consistently saying it was the weakest link on my Pittsburgh team, where Arcanine was really underwhelming for me that tournament. But really changing the speed control from Iron Bundle to Tornadus like fixed all the issues with the Pokemon. It went from like 0 to hero.
How was the Terra Normal E speed? Did you press that a lot, or was it just
No, I think there were like a few end games that I set up with it. I think I did it against you, and that was like probably the most major thing it did for me all tournament. Something I've said is like I think somebody like Sanfi might know how to look for those like Terra Normal E speed games a little bit more proactively. But even with my like Dragonite POW experience, it just didn't really feel like something that like I would just have to put too much work into setting it up for it to be better than like, just looking for my Urshifu end games or something.
makes a lot of sense. Just because I've been kind of finicking like around with the Terra, whether it's Terra Normal E speed, Terra Fairy, Terra Blast instead of Head Smash. I'm always wondering
Ooh,
people's.
head smash is juicy. That move's not going anywhere. It's when head smash hits, like there's just something that is like basically being removed from the game. Even after an intimidate, this move does ridiculous damage. Without intimidate, it's doing stuff like one-shotting in DD. It's just like the 80 accuracy is really scary, but I went like 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 on head smashes all tournament.
Wait,
Every
it's
single
80
one was just-
accuracy?
yeah, it's 80 accuracy, 150 power, and half of half, it is like
150 power, dude? I thought it was just Flare Blitz. I don't even know what this mon does.
no. If it was just Flare Blitz, like people would be running it more because at that point it would just be like a fairly vanilla move and it would be more obviously good. I mean, it's 150 power. It should seem obviously good. It's just that
Okay.
80 accuracy really does suck.
So I knew about the half recoil. That was what I knew. I did not realize it was a Z move. Like, that's crazy.
No, it's
Pretty sure it can
absurdly
one-shot
powerful.
Wow.
Not if they have too much bulk. Like I think it's one of those things that like you shouldn't be expecting it to one shot a Heatran, but the fact that it like on average is going to be doing like maybe 90% against Heatran or something, and obviously like if your Arcanine goes down at the same time as your opponent's Pokemon, like you're the one who wins.
You can
Head
save
Smash
this for
is
your
nuts.
calculator.
God, maybe I will have to do one of those to teach everybody about Head Smash.
I honestly, yeah, like I need to learn exactly what my team is just doing because this team is not going anywhere. I guess my Does it KO Landorus? If Landorus switches in?
At neutral, yeah, I think Landorus is dying to it at neutral.
No, like if Landorus switches into you, do you kill it?
No.
No. Head smash is a lot. It's neutral.
I know, but it's base 115 attack, right? It's not
That
what you think it is.
that's the calc that would be like, oh shit, the spawn goes crazy. But that's fair. I mean, neutral. I'm sure it's KOing pretty much everything. So
As someone who just found out what a head smash is, no way.
okay.
Yeah. One other thing that I really want to say about Arcanine is just like, I think the best way to understand this Pokemon on like Tailwind archetypes like this is just like the Rock Slide is drastically stronger than Landorus. Landorus shouldn't really be clicking Rock Slide in the early game because if you don't get a flinch, it's a bad move to click. Arcanine is happy if it doesn't get a flinch, and it is overjoyed if it gets a flinch. If Arcanine gets a flinch in like the first game or two, turn or two of the game, you can often kind of just like convert it into a win because of like how expensive it is to like waste a turn flinching against like Arctor. This you just do not really have the time to get back into the game.
Just rubbing it in my face, huh?
I did it to a lot of people. You're just one of them.
Wow.
You're just another player. I mean, that's it.
Just another number to you.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to ask about is you said you picked up the team after 7v1 with it. Tell me about your process of going from this team is really cool on Monday to rolling up with the team on Saturday.
Yeah, I kind of just realized, like, I think I'm somebody that I do not like to go in on team solo. I like to have groups of people that I'm working with where we can support each other, and I didn't really feel that network was there for, like, any other team except this, which Zach and Montana were also excited about, and of course, Sanvi's my good friend. Even if he wasn't playing a regional this weekend, I could still rope him into helping me, which he very graciously did. And, help me get up to speed on the team really quickly. And obviously, I guess, get to regional winning levels of play with it.
I just want to shout out Sanvi. That guy's the GOAT. And he just loves Pokemon so genuinely. I mean, he makes a lot of jokes about it, but, like, it always makes me so happy. Like, that guy just really does love Pokemon.
That's Sadiq,
The thing is, I only know him through his tweets. So I don't know if you're being serious or not. I feel on Twitter he sounds like he hates Pokemon. He just
Dude, he has a Palafin tattoo.
No, it's just the way he communicates. Yeah, he's got not just Palafin. Doesn't he have like Ninetales as well and Charizard? Like I'm pretty sure Sanvi has 3 different Pokemon tattoos.
He is a huge Pokemon fan.
Okay, that's yeah, fair enough. You got to really like Pokemon to get 3 tattoos of it.
He's just funny. That's really what it is.
Maybe he considers them more like brandings than tattoos, like they're rewards on it. So.
The VGC branding, dude.
Got hazed.
I put the worst Pokemon on my team for every regional I don't cut. I tattoo it to remind myself it's a failure.
Unironically, like Sanvi winning the regional was part of like what helped motivate me to want to do this myself. Because maybe Sanvi thinks he's better than me, but I'm not sure if I think that. And I'm seeing like Sanvi get his first win was like, I gotta catch up to him. Let me go do that in a week's time. Here we are.
That's how I feel about Chuppa too. Chuppa won a regional. I don't think he's that much better than me. I think I can do that. San Antonio. I'm just gonna win,
I hate to break it to you,
Honey sweep, it's gonna happen. It's home defense.
Okay, I really do hope it happens for you, Ali, but Chuppa's way better than you.
I
know. I'm just trolling.
I mean, I am 0-1 against Adi lifetime.
That's
it's
true.
It's gonna be a while before I catch up.
Because I'll be at the X2 tables and you'll be at the XO tables.
Chuppa, how many times have I played you? Just 2 times?
I think so. I can't think of anything besides those.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. For a while, you were just like consistently having like better tournaments than I was, and now like it was a while before. I mean, like through like pre-COVID era. I was
wasn't
not
really
like
paying
at
attention.
X1 tables like late in tournaments for a while.
Yeah, I think ever since really 2020, I mean that was right before COVID happened. I was just like I started doing a lot better just because like before that I would have really bad like mental health issues at events where I would just like get too anxious to like play properly. And I think ever since then I've been doing better.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to think that like Worlds 2022 was like, I mean, you were already like doing fine before that, but it was like a really huge event for both of us and like kind of precipitated things to come.
Yeah, I mean I'd never made day two worlds. That made me really happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, genuinely, like it's been awesome to see both of you guys do so consistently well over the last year. It's been it's been really really cool to watch. It's been really inspiring. Um, and Chuppa, yeah, especially you mentioned it. Like, I played you at what 2022 Vancouver, right? That was the event that I played you at, and I'm not gonna pretend like our set wasn't decided entirely by hypnosis, but it's
Well, no, yeah, I wasn't playing well. I got smoked. Like Hypnosis played a part, but I got smoked, and like Vancouver was a huge wake up call for me as an event where just like, damn, I'm not like especially proud of how I'm playing. I gotta fix something.
yeah, and you've gotten so much better, and it's really cool to see, and it's one of those things that, like I feel like we don't see players, especially like older players. I feel like we see junior seniors, people who are like still in high school, get a lot better much quicker, but I feel like we don't see players our age sort of make that jump like you did, and that's
Wait.
not as often, and that's pretty unique, and so it's been it's again it genuinely has been inspiring because it's like oh yeah oh shit Chuppa did it. I can totally like get better as a player and make those steps to getting very close to cutting worlds, potentially cutting worlds, and cutting regionals more consistently.
So I don't know if
It's
I've.
funny because like
Sorry, go
for
on.
me, I feel like it's not that I wasn't like as close to this good as in the past. I am the best I've ever been now. Was not this good in the past, but like maybe around like 2018 or 2017, where I like had the day two invite to Worlds, I was maybe close to being as good as I am now. But in my mind, it's always just felt like there's kind of a bit of a dip between then up until 2022 Worlds. It's not like it was a place I'd never been. It was just a place that I hadn't really like accessed for kind of a long period of time.
Hmm.
I feel that way too. Where I haven't gotten like much better, but I mean, I just think there was always a really big contrast from how I played in practice and how I played at the tournament, just because of like my nerves, which I think that gap is not as wide anymore. But what I wanted to say was, I don't know if I've told this on Tub or not, but when I first started playing Pokemon, the guy who got me into Pokemon told me that Chuppa was the best player in the world. So I really thought Chuppa was like the GOAT for a while. And I think I best of three'd you on Showdown. Like I just messaged you while you were on Showdown and you played me and I lost and I was like, okay, but it was like a 3 game set. Like I'm really good.
Wait,
And I was like
who
13,
was the person
14.
that told you I was the best?
You don't know them. Like they went to one regional. They were just like a friend of mine from India
Okay.
that just like had their,
Sure, I wouldn't recognize their name.
no, you wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to shout them out. You don't want to
Yeah,
tell.
no, I still remember.
Don't worry
I
about
still
it.
remember our set. It was like primals against the Yveltal, and you still lost. So maybe I was teaching you something, even if it went to three.
I see you the fact that you remember means so much to me. I don't remember at all.
Oh,
um,
I see.
all right. I will say we are nearing the 2 hour mark, and we have not even started talking about any of the other teams in Toronto. I don't
other
know
teams?
how. True. I don't know if we can do a deep dive like we did for Lille. I think recapping two regionals in one episode is always going to be an uphill battle. So I think what we're going to do. I think there aren't any regionals for a few weeks. When's Latin American Internets? Is that coming up?
It's in 3
Um,
weeks.
November,
It's
I want to
15th through
say
17, I
19th or
think.
something,
Okay, so we've
Or,
got
no, 17 through 19, I think.
somewhere
Okay.
around there.
So we've got 2.5 weeks before the next event. So we will have a chance to reflect on Toronto results a little more maybe next week. But for now, I kind of want to do the same thing. We did have some Americans. I feel like Americans just more interesting team builders. Maybe interesting teams do better in America because Jamie Boyd's over here, bombing Lille and then coming up and popping off with a very creative team. So maybe America's just that free. I don't know. But we got a lot of really cool teams here in day 2. So I'm gonna do the same thing and kind of pick a Pokemon or pick a team that you wanted to talk about and how it did. Actually, screw that. I've got one topic that we have to talk about before we go to that, which is Ogerpon. Where did it go? There are 2 Ogerpon in Top Cut, and they are rock and grass. So what happened?
I ate all of them.
I was not expecting anything like this. Yeah, I'm like really curious what went on here. Abe, it sounds like you have some thoughts about it.
I think to me the biggest thing is just like how good dragons and flyings were this tournament, and like it kind of shows how broken Urshifu is just to overcome all of that. But like you see a dragon type on Raghav's team, the Regidrago. You see a dragon type like on Paul's team with the Roaring Moon. And then obviously like Torn was like very popular. Even Jamie Boyd, he had like a Terraflying Thunderous to punish any like Ogerpon and stuff like that. Bobby, he had a Torn. Stuff like Hisui Arcanine popping up, I think is a little, or I don't know if it's like a little more punishing into say Ogerpon Fire, but it allows for like a little bit more flexible game plans, in my opinion, into like that type of Pokemon, especially if they're setting up. And obviously like the biggest like or one of the most popular teams from the tournament, like the Pelipper Rain team with Salamence, like especially Salamence being like one of the most, I would say like one of the most consistent intimidators into like Ogerpon Water, Ogerpon Fire. Like those are like typically the 2 best Ogerpon forms. Like you resist all their stabs, you hurricane them. So that was like the biggest thing to me, just how good Dragon and Flying was this tournament. That explained the dip.
I also think that like there was a weird culmination of like meta trends of like certain slots overlap with the Ogerpon and they just weren't fitting. Like Arcanine Hisui, you don't want Arcanine Hisui Ogerpon Fire. Or Shifu is just, people realize, okay, that guy's pretty broken. So I think just like where the teams were going, whether it's Rinya team or Hirofumi team, you're just not having the slots for the Ogerpon, and I think Ogerpon will definitely be back. Like it's just kind of a really funny like culmination for this event that none of them really made it through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right that it definitely stems from like Hirofumi team and Rinya team being like the 2 most common teams at the event. Neither of them have Ogerpon, and then even other people who are like following some of the same building principles of like, oh, Arcanine is especially good now. Oh, Urshifu is especially good now. Like Ogerpon just ends up kind of boxed out unless you want to use grass or rock type Ogerpon.
Yeah. I would especially
we
expect
should
like,
talk about those sets.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about those 2.
Yeah. So
I think
Boyd,
the grass one was so cool.
yeah. So Boyd had
especially,
the.
like I think the biggest thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
I didn't see the item ever.
Yeah. We were Rajan was talking shit about it a little earlier, but yeah, no, I think
That's
that
how you know it's good.
right. That's what I'm saying. It's a cool item because yeah, you can Squirts Dance, but like we've seen other Ogerpons do the same thing. We don't have to Squirts Dance. Obviously, it's Defiance, so you're not going to get damage reduction. But I think what Jamie said in his interview is that on average, this is doing more damage than Life Orb. I think he said that. That doesn't sound right now that I say it. But like, because it's 1.5, right? And Life Orb is 1.3, and you do it twice. He said it did more damage than something, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right, but it can't be Life Orb. But it's yeah, no, it's cool to see. And also, if you Terra Grass and you need the speed boost, then you can get intimidated. And so it does actually come up sometimes in those situations as well. But I think the Grass one has a lot of potential. I don't know about the item choice specifically. I feel like there's other items that I'd rather run on it, like Focus Sash maybe. But I do think that the Swords Dance set is very cool. Okay, I don't know about this the coverage move either. I guess it's fire types. I think Ogerpon Grass form is cool.
It's
I
coverage
don't know about
moves,
the
right?
set specifically.
I think stopping makes a lot of sense. Like you want to hit each ramp.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
No,
true.
I think this Ogerpon is really interesting. This is like I think Ogerpon Grass is more interesting to me than Ogerpon Rock. I think it just has honestly a really high ceiling just because of how strong Define is, how strong the +1 speed upon Terra is. It's really a Pokemon that I do want to see developed a little bit more, and maybe this is going to be like you know how at the start of the One Piece, the pirates like the One Piece is real, and then everybody looks for the One Piece. This is going to be the Ogerpon that starts everybody looking for like that perfect icy winning grass Ogerpon team.
I think there was like a Japanese grassroots store, like a Teru challenge, like a week or two
Yes,
before that.
the Four
And
Tides grass.
yeah, and there's a guy who like got second with like 4 grass move choice band Ogerpon. So, come on.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool. I think someone said in chat the explanation that Jamie gave on stream was that the masks give a 20% boost and Razor Claws a 25% boost on average. So that is the justification that he gave for it. But
Alright.
it worked. He got top 4.
I think he should have gotten top 8 because his top 8 matchup was bad, but I think Bobby didn't quite follow through on the matchup advantage. But I think there's a lot of cool sets to unpack here.
Yeah, I think the Life Orb Goldie, you talked about that a little bit when you were talking about your team as a potential option. But yeah, I mean, the Goldie getting initial damage output is really good. I find myself clicking Shadow Ball like a decent amount. And so I do think boosting Shadow Ball might have some cool calcs as well into things like Arcanine, things like
Or even Iron Hands.
Iron Hands, yeah, absolutely. So I could definitely see Life Orb being a very strong item on Goldengo, especially because it doesn't force you to set up. And then I see this team also has this fast Roaring Moon with Tailwind, and so you still have that ability to just click Tailwind, Terra Steel, Make It Rain, and just spit out damage, which is something that, like you said, if you have Tailwind on your team, you really do want to have that option because it's so powerful.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense on this team.
This isn't present, like, we don't know the spreads of this team, but this Urshifu was, like, crazy bulky, because Bobby, during his stream set, I'm pretty sure he's using, like, Sharp Beak Tornadus, and when he Bleak-Winded Boyd's Urshifu, it only took, like, 75. It just lived super clean. So
Yeah, I also feel like we saw the Roaring Moon take a weird amount of attacks. Like, I feel like, I mean, Boyd's been known to run, like, really crazy spreads that are very specific and work out for him, so...
Nope.
Oh, are the spreads available now?
He did not give us the spreads, but he does have the team report at the very least. If you are interested in hearing about the team, Jamie's on YouTube, and you can go watch his team report where he presumably talks about it more in depth. Although he does not have EV spreads, it looks like in the PokePaste. So, we're not going to find out.
I've always been a Jamie Boyd team report enjoyer. I liked his 2016 Worlds team report quite a bit.
Yeah.
Or was it? Maybe it was a regional. I don't remember. He won some I don't remember. Some tour. I was like, this
like
is
Liverpool
cool
regionals right after 2016 Worlds. He had the Cottony. Yeah.
Yes. And I think he just
Yeah.
had cool AV Rayquaza spread, just like stuff like that.
Yeah, Jamie's YouTube channel was one of the ones that really inspired me to start making content for competitive players, and so I'm definitely a Jamie Boyd fan. And he was asking about being on Top Takes today actually, but time zones are just so tough to get Europeans on. But otherwise, we definitely would love to have had him on. I guess the Thunderous is also.
Tidbit, specifically about Jamie Boyd. My friend Bars, he played him the week before in Liverpool, or not in Liverpool, in Lille. And he was using a completely different team, and after Bars beat him, Boyd came up to him, he was like, okay, you've inspired me to use a good team next week. And so, I guess this was that team.
Wait, what did Bars use?
Bars used the most boring team you could ever think of. It was like Urshifu, Rillaboom, Heatran, Scarf Landers, Chinpao, Sixth Mon. It's like a boring.
So just like nothing that's on Boyd's team.
Oh, no, I'm saying Boyd got inspired to use a good team. So, yeah, he was just like, yeah, I'm going to use a good team.
So
No,
it's
he
just
learned
funny
that
to
his
me.
team was bad, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, Boyd was like,
that it turns out he found out that AV Sarolage was not the play.
yeah.
That was his Lille team.
His Lille team is really, really cracked out.
The other interesting Pokemon on this team is the Thunderous with the Sulfest, Thunderous Therian with the Sulfest. And I think on his stream interview he said that he wanted a special attacking flying type, and that was his requirements. And of course, Abhay, you know a lot about special attacking flying types. you are a special attacking flying type aficionado yourself. So what do you think about the Thunderous?
I like it a lot. I was honestly considering making my Landorus like Terra Flying Terra Blast. Because like that special attacking flying damage is like really real, especially since like all Amoonguses right now are super Fizdef. Like you kind of need to be like that Fizdef to live like an Adamant Icicle Crash or like an Adamant Terra Blast from Landorus T. So I really like the special like Terra Blast flying damage. I think
You
it
don't
really
get the
takes
sheer
advantage
force
of that
boost, do
meta
you?
adaptation. Say that again?
You don't get the sheer
No,
force
Not
boost,
from
do
Terra
you?
Blast.
No, but it's still just like Oko's Amoongus anyway, so that was
Sure.
like I didn't do it, but that was like my idea. But I think it like works pretty well here, especially since on Thunderous T, like you have Volt Absorb. It's not like you like really lose any weaknesses or anything like that. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Notably, this
No, that's
guy,
pretty cool.
someone mentioned in chat, it walls Iron Hands, which is very cool. It also has one thing that the Landorus doesn't do as effectively. The whole point of these guys is to scare the grass types away, right? Landorus with Sludge Bomb, Thunderous with Terra Blast. But Ogre Water can kind of tank attacks if it Terra Waters from Landorus Eye. Landorus Eye. And this Thunderous obviously just, even at +1, I think is probably hitting that Ogre really hard. So I think that's another potential advantage of Thunderous Therian. And I really do think it's like a genuinely good Pokemon. I could definitely see it seeing more play, given that special attacking flying types are not super common, other than Tornadus, which does not nearly hit as hard.
I wonder what the AV is like for. Is it just so you can survive a flutter hit, or
Watch the
Heat
report.
Train, maybe?
You gotta watch the report.
After.
I think the Roaring Moon set was cool too. I think we saw this like set on Weezing teams. I think I even remember sitting next to Colin saying like, "Oh, this is just a Weezing team," which like it's not. But the Roaring Moon, I think works really well with like this composition. Like to support the Goldango, to make the Thunderous more bulky. The Urshifu is already like crazy bulky, but like the Breaking Swipes like really help there. Knockoff is extremely broken on Roaring Moon. It like does so much for the Pokemon. So yeah, Void seems like normally I like kind of hate, like I don't really see the vision, but this one's a good one.
I'm still
Great
not a believer in
endorsement.
Razor Claw Ogerpon, but I think that the everything else on the team is very cool. No, a substitute instead of Aqua Jet on Urshifu is also a very interesting choice.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have
that's
to go
a
back to his
good
roots somehow.
plan.
You have to do something. Like there has to be a shit choice teams. Like I guess you can go with that.
I really like sub, but that was kind of like at the beginning of the format or like before the format. Like I was like sub or Shifu is surely the best, but there's just too many situations where you want the priority personally. But it seemed to work out for him, and I'm sure there was a lot of cool lines you could do with sub, especially versus like Amoongus. His team doesn't have a lot for Amoongus outside of Golden Go. I mean, like it's just mostly damage. Like it can be hard sometimes to pivot.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are a little over time, so I don't want to go too into depth about everyone's teams. But I guess are there any other specific teams that y'all, or specific teams or specific Pokemon that you guys wanted to talk about from day 2?
I think we have to talk about the developer team.
Yeah,
I
let's
feel
do it.
like that's like yeah. I think that's
So-
the biggest like takeaway from this tournament.
So Justin Tang
like, kinda
cut with
similar.
his team.
Yep.
And then I think
Yeah.
Gavin used it to make day 2, and someone else did TSL Tang use it to make day 2?
Liang Tang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all three of them made day 2 with it. Funnily enough, I think they all lost to I think like Reggie Draco. Like all three of them. So that was kind of funny.
I didn't play any of them, so it must have been Grant.
Yeah, I think it was Grant. I think all three of them lost to Grant. But I think this like team speaks a lot to what we were talking about earlier, like just now with Boyd's team in terms of like special flying damage, like with the Pelipper and Salamence, and also like like how this team does a good job of beating Ogerpons, especially with the Salamence. Even speaking to like that Terra Dragon, Nasty Plot, Goldango that was on like Raghav's team that we were talking about earlier. This does like a lot of things that we see in the meta, but just like in a very unique way. And also like being able to have like Hydro Pump and Rain from Iron Bundle and having like another offensive option into, let's say, Landers. Yeah, this
I
is
think-
probably the coolest team in the tournament to me.
Yeah, I think the Salamence and the Pelipper, the cool sets where like one Salamence was nowhere. We kind of went over why it's good. It's a dragon type with intimidate and flying coverage, but like the Pelipper's running Weather Ball, which is pretty cool because you don't have to rely on the Hydro Pump accuracy. Other than that, it's just like proven concepts like we know work, like Amoonguss, Goldie, and Rain, Iron Hands, and I think this team has like things that I've always wanted to work. Like I've always wanted to make Salamence work. I've always wanted Bundle just to be like a rain sweeper. And if you hit your Hydro Pumps, it's really good in rain. So I think this team is pretty cool, but it does have some like some scary matchups. It looks like. Like
Yeah, if I
Japan's
recall, they
really
like I
hard.
think I was talking to like Justin Tang like a little bit, or I overheard him. I think they really don't like the King Gambit matchup with this team, which I think makes
Yeah.
some sense. Like you kind of have to Amoonguss Iron Hands through it. That can be inconsistent.
Yeah. Fluttermane also just looks scary in general. Like you need to have very precise game plans versus it and use your Amoonguss Goldie well.
Well, interestingly, I guess in Paul and Justin Tang's like 8 set, when Paul brought Flutter in the first 2 games, and then the third game he actually ended up dropping it. He won anyway, but
Conditioned.
conditioned. Yeah. But yeah, this is yeah.
Alright.
I feel like this team is probably brutal.
Yeah. Again, if you hit your Hydro Pumps, you're doing great. I think that we haven't seen Bundle as a rain sweeper yet. I'm a little surprised we haven't because it is very powerful. But and if you're using Bundle anyways, and it was really common for a long time, you're opting in to hit your Hydro Pumps. You might as well make those Hydro Pumps do a lot of damage. So I do like that. And with the increased power level of this format, you do kind of have to sometimes rely on that sort of thing. I think Salamence, yeah, it's just the other Pokemon that is just super well positioned. And so the rest of the team, we've seen Goldie, we've seen Amoonguss on rain teams, Iron Hands on rain teams, but those two are really cool innovations. Yeah, but with that, I think we're gonna table our Toronto talk until next week. Hopefully, we can get some other players from who went to Toronto to talk about their teams as well. I think I contacted some of the Canadians, and everyone's out having fun on Halloween. We got to continue talking about Pokemon. So I'm gonna try to give our guests a little bit of respite tonight, and not scare them too much by talking about all these spooky teams from Toronto regionals. So with that, let's go ahead and do the calc is right. So the calc is right. For those who are new here, is a section where we what do we do here? We each have a damage calculation, and we say the damage calculation, and each of the people who didn't say it have to guess a number, and that number should be in the range of damage that attack is going to do. Then we reveal it on stream, and if you get it in that damage range, then you get it right. So, any questions? Y'all, I think y'all have all done calculus right before at this point. So hopefully you guys remember how it works. Does anyone have one they're very excited about and wants to go first?
I'm not super excited, but I have one.
That we'll take it. I can be excited for you.
How much does like a Draco Meteor do to Vest Iron Hands? Let's just do like max Spadef. How much HP do you guys want? 76? 76 HP.
I'll say 76.
And this is max modest Dragon Fang.
Dragon
Reggie Drago.
Fang. Yeah.
All right.
I have a number.
All right. Thinking about it.
I think I have a number.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a number.
All right. Ali, what's your number?
75.
Okay. Chuppa?
I'm doing, I will say 70.
70. Okay. Abhay, what's your number?
Yeah, I was in the same range. I'll say 72.
72. All right. Count
right.
that shit, Ali.
Do you know the answer?
No.
I don't know. I'm sure. Surely you Draco Meteored some Iron Hands during this tournament.
Not really.
Wait, that doesn't do shit.
It doesn't do anything.
Wait, I thought this would like destroy a non-AV hands.
What the heck?
This is AV. Is it non-AV? Was that the calc?
Yeah, I meant AV.
Yeah, but that was like how I
Yeah.
was like basing my calc. I was like, oh, okay, this is like
No.
Oko's hands. If it's
Well, take off the
non-AV.
AV. It's gonna do a lot more.
If it's not going
It
to kill,
doesn't die. It lives.
It still did a lot more.
it, it is an Iron Hand. It is hard to OHKO this guy.
Yeah, but I was
But-
like, dang, it's a Draco.
That's kind of depressing. Oh,
I never pressed it to an Iron Hand, so I'll be honest.
Does that mean
I didn't
Dragon
even
Energies
realize
are?
you were Draco Meteor. I thought you were Dragon Pulse, like Abe was.
Was he Dragon Pulse? He pulled an old pace, so we actually have different choices. Like, I don't think he had Protect Torn. He had Dragon Pulse Reg Drago. I
Dude, he
think
really screwed
The,
Abel.
the Pulse Draco still killed my Urshifu after like some very, very minor amount of chip. Like it did 180 points of damage. Urshifu was out of there. So
Yeah,
it
I mean-
is true.
I was testing Dragon Pulse until I think Colin told me, "Why aren't you running Draco?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know. I didn't think about it. That's better."
It does look very sad that Dragon Energy does not two-shot hands consistently. That that is turning me off of the mon.
Yeah.
All right, Chuppa, do you have a calc?
Yeah, my calc is Terradark, Black Glasses, King Gambit. You've been able to set up 2 Swords Dances before your opponent is able to position their Urshifu Water in against you, and you think they're not clicking Aqua Jet, you're clicking Sucker Punch, +4, Terradark, Black Glasses. How much damage is that doing to your enemy's 4 HP, 0 defense Urshifu Water?
Oh God.
Did you say sucker or kowtow?
Sucker.
Sucker.
Okay.
Dude, because you're eating CC if you don't kill it. There's no time to kowtow.
And you
I don't know.
have you
People
have
pick CC King Gambit this weekend. It's like said they won't do that. So
that's crazy. Did you had Terra Dark, right?
Yeah, Terradark, Black Glasses.
I have a number.
+4, right?
Yes.
Yep, +4.
All right.
I got a
think
number.
Okay, let's hear the number, Audie.
So I think that without any boost, it's doing 25. +4 is 3x, so it's going to do 75. I'm doing the same number again.
And that's with Terradark?
That's with Terra Dark, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Raghav, what's your number?
I was gonna say like 97.
Chat agrees with you, by
Okay.
the way. Chat's saying 90, 95, 110. They think I'm way off.
Yeah, I was thinking without Terradark, so I was also thinking in the 70s, but with Terradark, I'll say like 90.
Here, let me
Urshifu-
put the calc in.
Urshifu
Dude, I
has
think
a
it's
defense
one
stat.
But
It's 100, like, right on the dot. It's 50%.
It's
as
92 to 108.5.
I win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I thought, Urshifu has 100 base defense. I thought, and it's a resisted hit. I thought I could live that. But that's
Dude,
a
just
lot of
think about
damage.
the multipliers.
Yeah, it's a 3x multiplier. 3x times Black Glasses times Defiant. Or times, not Defiant, times Terra.
Wow.
I don't know. Clearly, I don't know my King Gambit calcs. But what does 196 do? How about that? That's the optimal King Gambit set. That one doesn't kill, so maybe it's not optimal. All right, Abhay, what do you got?
I had 2 ideas. One was a Landorus Eye calc, and one was the Hisui Arcanine calc. Which one are you interested in?
Landorus. That's not
Okay.
a question.
How much does Landorus Eye Timid Life Orb Earth Power do to a 4 HP Urshifu?
Okay, I got it.
I definitely ran this calc for Worlds because I was thinking about Lando Eye.
I've got a number.
I've
Okay.
got a number.
Can I go last?
All right, I'm going to say 85.
I'm gonna say 100. I think it kills. I believe.
I'm gonna go with 104.
Okay. Only one of y'all are right.
Oh,
That means it's Chuppa.
No, it's actually not. It's Raghav.
It's Raga. It does 101.
What? Oh my god.
I knew it.
Ow.
Dude, Life Orb Sheer Force is so strong, and Urshifu's
Yeah.
got bad
You know
spit
what?
up.
No, that makes sense. I was kind of thinking about like just Life Orb, but not the extra boost. Honestly, once I factored that in, I would be a lot closer, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to go last. I was like, these guys are gonna get it wrong. I'm gonna say something crazy, and they're gonna be like, whoa, what?
I knew someone was gonna say 100. So
That was I thought it would be a roll to kill. I didn't think it would kill outright that consistently.
no, it's just
When
Yeah.
you said 4 HP, I was like, oh, it's dead.
Oh yeah, no, it's dead.
All right, and then my turn. I feel like the AV Iron Hands is just the default like the dummy we just hit at. So I'm gonna do one too. How about we're gonna go with Iron Bundle, Timid, Max Special Attack, Hydro Pump in the rain against a 76-252 AV Iron Hands.
Okay. I have my number.
I've got a number.
Yeah, same.
All right, Abhay, you're up.
I'll say 48.
48. All right, Raghav, you don't get to be last this time. You're up.
Yeah, that was also in my range. I'm gonna go with 46.
All right, and Chuppa.
I've got 42.
42. Ooh, that's kind of low.
All right, no one believes in the
Wait, this is max special attack bundle.
Max Special Attack
Timid?
Timid. Max Timid.
Oh, I'm gonna go up to 45.
You know what? You would have been right either way. 38.9 to 45.6.
Dang.
I'm not
nice.
used to like
Yeah, I
max
thought it would do
special
more.
attack bundle calcs because I've used the Pokemon so much, but it's mostly been on slightly like bulkier sets
Dude,
that
Iron
don't
Hands
have much
is so
special
stupid.
attack.
What the heck?
I also thought this would do more. I didn't think it would two shot, but I thought it would be a roll to two shot. I guess you got to go like modest or something if you really want to be able to hit that special attack
It's
booster.
funny because like I'm pretty sure on Tang's team there are like 4 special attack timid. Like you just put the paste out.
Oh,
So like they kind of do nothing.
yeah. I mean, it's still damage, right? It's still pretty good damage into things that are not as bulky as Iron Hands, but yeah, it feels like a more support set. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. Again, sorry we didn't get to. Well, first off, sorry we didn't stream last week, and then as a result, sorry we didn't get to go through all of Toronto. Next week we should be back to our regular Monday programming, and we should be able to go through the rest of Toronto. But yeah, I'm gonna let do any of you guys have any final words, shout outs that you guys wanted to give?
I guess thanks for having me on. Shout out to I guess also my friends Tio and Bars for doing well at Lille. They both I think went 10-4. We're pretty close to top 8ing. So shout out to them. Pretty much it.
I'd like to give a shout out to Ice Spice and you, Ali.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
We are often in the same conversation, Ice Spice and myself, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Shout outs Drake. This is for all the dogs.
Shit, I should have said shout out Drake. Dude. All my nicknames were Drake themed. I pulled up with the Drake shirt, the Drake mentality.
Drake mentality.
Drake mentality, really, all Drake mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you ran through the 6 with your rose. That's what you did.
That's what I'm saying. Chuppa's kind of just like J. Cole vibes, I guess, that weekend. He's taller than me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, also go sign up for Chuppa's coaching. Genuinely, like, I don't think anyone has as crazy a track record with coaches as you do. So highly recommend it if you are looking for coaching.
I think he's only second to Phil Jackson.
That's true. Hayden Fry's got a hell of a coaching tree. But Nick Saban, football references.
We talking about sports now?
Raghav, you saw for coaching too, right? No, not anymore. All right.
I'll get back to it eventually, but right now I'm not doing it.
And then, so until
Fixing
then,
the brain.
exclusively go to Chuppa for all your coaching needs. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up. Again, if you missed any, if you missed the start of the podcast or any part of the podcast, it will be available I think on Thursday on YouTube. So definitely go check it out then. And yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Really appreciate it, taking your time and sticking with us for an extra 20 minutes or so. And we're gonna hand it over to Jody, who is streaming the Tom Hayden Halloween tour. So go say hi to him, let him know where you came from, and on this spooky Tuesday, go watch Jody Azzarelli win a spooky tournament. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Good night, guys.
Right.
Bye everyone.
Like.